Hey, just a short disclaimer before the start of the video. The first seven, so all the teams were covered, and there will be chapters throughout this video. So if you're just looking for your one team, you can find it that way. The first 7 teams covered in this video were covered before all of the events of the first week of the CFL season, whereas Ottawa and Montreal, those were covered after the first 2 games, but before the Elks Redblacks game. So just keep that in mind when you're watching the video. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Can they take the lead on this drive?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we have what is going to be the start of a very long video. However, before we get into it, we have made it convenient for you. If you are only interested in seeing the preview of your team or a select few teams, we have added chapters to this video, so you should be able to skip to wherever it is you like, as me and Rick are about to embark on a preview of all 9 teams in about as much depth as we can without losing our sanity. And we're going to see how long this takes. I predict it will be at least 2 hours. Maybe more. I have no idea, but we're going to find out the hard way. Isn't that right, Rick?
Yes.
So,
especially if it's for the rookies that made the team and we know nothing about them.
Now, before we get right into the weeds, make sure you guys leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And also, we are going, for some of the teams, we have depth charts. Now, they're not like professionally made release depth charts. Essentially, people taking a look at who got cut, who didn't got cut, and have put together depth charts that are a good idea of what we might be seeing. We're going to be referencing those a lot in these videos. You could certainly just listen and enjoy it that way, but it might be easier to follow along. If you guys join our Discord, which is in the link in the description, there's a channel in there called CFL Depth Charts. The depth charts are in there, so it'll be easy to follow along as we go through the video. Again, not all the teams we're covering have one of those, but some of them do, and they'll be very, very helpful for when we cover it. So, let's get started. The BC Lions. We're going west to east.
Oh, Carter, you should have did it like NHL style. And with the number 1 pick, we select the BC Lions.
Yes. With the first overall draft pick, they've selected not you, but the BC Lions. So, BC. What's the goal of the season, Rick? I have to imagine it's to make the Grey Cup game. It's to not get bitch smacked in the division final. Is that the goal? Truly win the West in the playoffs?
So for me, it's Grey Cup or bust.
I mean,
so
that's
much
fair.
hype around Rourke, it's Grey Cup or bust.
That's fair. Although I will say, if they do lose in the Grey Cup game, but they get to it, I still think that's improvement. But I understand the Grey Cup or bust mentality. So,
for me, with so much hype on Nathan Rourke, it's Grey Cup or bust for me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, shall we start with arguably the most important position? The quarterbacks. They got 3 over in BC. They got Nathan Rourke, followed by Chase Bryce, and then Salter as their 3rd string. Rick, thoughts on that quarterback pool to pull from?
If it's going to be anything like Hamilton, Bryce, and their other quarterbacks aren't going to see the field unless Nathan Rourke gets injured.
Yeah, Chase Bryce in the preseason has been okay. Slightly better than expected, but I don't know if I'd say burning the house down, absolute, awesome backup. But he was decent in the preseason this year. Again, in the preseason. We'll see how that translates. But, I mean, the big attraction, it's Nathan Rourke. You know what I mean? This is the face of the franchise in BC. And Nathan Rourke was on the Lions for a bit, went up to the NFL, gave it a bit of his whirl, and then comes back down. And the rest of that season that he came down was a little bit rough. And the question is, was he going to bounce back? He did, with in the 18 games he played all 18 games the next season. He had 352 completions on 500 attempts, throwing for 5,290 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, where at the CFL Awards, he was the most outstanding Canadian as well as the most outstanding player. Don't ask Rick for his opinion on that. He will be very not happy because he is a Bo Levi Mitchell fan, and that is fair to him. But regardless of whatever you think of who should have won what, he is one of the staple players in the Canadian Football League, and he's over in BC. Rick, shall we get on to the running backs?
Sure.
James Butler, and then they got Horvath behind him. And Horvath has been, I got to say, was a decent backup at times. I actually didn't mind seeing whenever he played, but James Butler, of course, was the guy that they predominantly went with. Rick, you have a decent amount of exposure with James Butler being a Ticats fan and Butler being over with the Ticats for a while. What do you think about him?
Here's the thing is, James Butler's in his 30s. He's only making 130 max to 136.
Yeah.
Horvath is...
Xander Horvath, is that right?
Yeah, is 26 years old, because he had, 231 games or 231 yards in 10 games last year. 5 touchdowns. Or, sorry, 2 touchdowns. My apologies. Do we think that down the road, James Butler is going to end up calling it quits or moving on?
I mean, at some point.
And then you have Horvath as your starter running back?
Well, whether they decide to go to Horvath or whether, I think the big thing is if Butler gets hurt or doesn't play all 18 games, which for a running back, that's a position you're going to take a good amount of hits at. And so naturally not playing 18 games is not the most uncommon for running backs. If there is an opportunity where they see Horvath play a few games as their starter, I think they kind of judge from that what they get. But I mean, because Butler's in his 30s, but where in his 30s? Because that's kind of relevant. Mid 30s, late 30s, early 30s.
I will find out.
Because if he's in his early 30s, that's not that bad, But once you get into the mid to late, that's when it gets a little dicey. You're going to say something in the middle, 33 or something.
Okay, that's definitely not him.
Are you looking at a different James Butler?
Yeah. It was some
Let's see, how old is he?
He's
He's 31.
95,
that's not that bad.
He's 31.
That's not that bad.
But I mean, there is 5 years difference.
No, that's true. But I don't think it was that bad. Rick?
Be interesting to see if he can come back to his career, his games this year.
Yeah. Now, okay. Well, so I think we've probably fairly covered the running backs here. Shall we go to the offensive line?
Sure.
Okay. So what are the big changes we're looking at on this offensive line? So they still got Katera being there. But I think the big one is obviously the loss of Jarrell Broxton to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And then Dijon Allen comes in at right side tackle. Besides that, I'm trying to remember what their O-line was last year. I'm trying to remember how different or not different it was.
For
the Lions. Just trying to remember what their O-line.
What are you talking about? The receivers?
No, I said their O-line, offensive line.
Oh. Give me a second.
Pearson currently in this is listed as their backup center, but did he not play guard at some point last year? And then Woodruff, I'm pretty sure was at tackle before. Schluger, I think he's played some tackle. for the Lions on their offensive line. But I mean, the Broxton was kind of the big fish, and that was the one that they had lost. Like Broxton was out at left tackle, and so Woodruff gets kind of bumped out there. Dijon Allen comes in at the other side. He had done really, really well with the Toronto Argonauts, and that was a decent loss for the Argos because they had Ryan Hunter on one side and they had Dijon Allen on the other, and so now he's going to go in for the BC Lions.
Quick question: are we basing this what's the order that we're doing these in position wise?
I was thinking quarterback, running back, O-line, receiver, D-line, linebackers, secondary, and then special teams.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Now, one thing, if you can just kind of fill some dead space here. I'm just trying to find some stats.
So, AJ Allen wasn't a full offensive line guy last year.
You mean Dijon Allen?
AJ Allen, sorry.
AJ Allen plays for the Redblacks.
Pearson was with the team. Uena, I don't think was.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to see is if we're looking into this. So, I want to take a look at their offensive line last year as a bit of a point of reference. Now, it's not going to be perfect, as we have mentioned. John Allen's come in, Jarrell Broxton's come out, but this is to give an idea of how they performed last year and maybe some potential expectations. Is that fair? Because if I'm looking here, Rick, let's take a look at, because the two different kind of main points for your offensive line is going to be their rush blocking as well as their pass blocking. If we're looking at their rush blocking, by the way, the numbers that I'm going to be using here for these O-line stats, I'm taking from Football Database. They do a great job with their website. They've been adding a bunch of stuff in. They're hoping to actually eventually add U Sports to that. I know because I've contacted them and I've had discussions with them, and so they're hoping to do that. They do good work over there. But for their rushing stats, the BC Lions, in terms of yards per game, rushing yards per game, they were third last with 85.5 rushing yards per game. For reference, Toronto Argonauts were first last year with 125.5, and the Redblacks were last with 66. As we do know, Buck Pierce does like to do a good amount of throwing plays, but also does like to run the ball at least a bit. But it was not on the higher side of things, and so they had done kind of okay in that regard. Now, if we go over to passing, though, they led in passing yards per game. Or actually, hold on a second. That's not the one I want to look at. I want to look at sacks. Yeah, there we go. Because I'm like trying to think because passing yards is relevant in the sense of it shows that your O-line's holding up. But then it's also Nathan Rourke who throws a lot of deep ball passes, so it's going to be skewed a little bit. But in terms of sacks given up, the BC Lions were. Hold on a second here. Wait a minute. Was I looking at their preseason? So what I was referencing was from the preseason this year. Whoops. Regardless, I guess preseason stats for BC Lions, they gave up 2, which put them dead center. But I want to look at last year because then we have a full season full of stuff to reference. But I'm trying to see if I can look at something that's not just preseason. You know what I mean? Like just 2025 regular season. Sorry about that. I clicked onto the wrong thing. Football Database, regular season, stats, team, 2025. Okay, there we go. So, in terms of yards per game, hold on a second. In terms of rushing yards per game, they were third. There we go. This is for last year, full stats. My apologies. I was talking about preseason before. I got confused. 113.4 they averaged in that regard. which put them third behind Winnipeg as well as Calgary, because Dedrick Mills had a bit of a career year last year for the Stampeders. If we go to passing, over the course of the season, they were, let's see here.
There's only two new receivers.
They did, what did you say?
There's only two new receivers.
Oh, I'm not talking receivers yet. I'm still talking on line.
Oh, okay.
But in terms, I was just meant like just passing, like their passing blocking. Their pass blocking was excellent, as they got sacked 20 times over the course of the season, which was the best in the league, where the Argos had given up 56 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, very good job there for the BC Lions offensive line. We will have to see how that goes for the rest of the season, though. Which brings us out to the receivers. Rick, do you want to kick us off with the receivers?
So, Stanley Berryhill's back. Keon Hatcher, senior's back.
And Keon Hatcher's on a $300K deal now. Isn't that correct?
So he's making $290,000.
Oh, $290. Yeah.
But his max can go to $315.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then McInnes is $250.
Thoughts on this receiver group?
So I was gonna say, so where Eberhardt would have been, you also have Seven McGee and Deontay Tatnick.
Yeah.
In his spot for the receivers.
Yeah, like when I'm looking at this receiving group, is it absolutely burning the world down, being like, this is easily the best receiver group in the world? No, it's not. Is it the worst? Like, to me, this is a very middle of the pack receiver group.
Even with Rourke?
I'm talking just the receivers. I'm not talking about Rourke. I'm talking the receivers alone with any quarterback. You know what I mean? Rourke does change things, though. He is a bit of an X factor in the fact that he can really tilt the tides of the game. You know what I mean? But Berryhill, solid piece. McGee, solid piece. Catoy, done decent. Just try to stay healthy. McInnes, he had a career year, not last year, but the year prior. Done very, very well in that regard. Last year, Keon Hatcher, that was his career year. So I think the question is going to be, is there going to be somebody else who's going to have their career year? Is McInnes or Hatcher going to really kind of carry the torch for the Lions? Or is it going to really kind of get spread out? And now you did bring up a good point here. There's also Pickett and Bond at like halfback and tight end as well. Just worthy of mentioning. But one thing I will say is that with their receiver group, as much as they may be, as mentioned, a bit of, kind of middle of the pack, when you got Nathan Rourke, that kind of changes things. Kind of changes a lot of things, I got to imagine. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's quite possible, but I mean, not everyone's going to have the year that they had before. Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what happened to, like, Justin McInnes. We were just mentioning that. You know what I mean? Like, kind of.
I mean, McInnes had 1,256 yards last year. Keon Hatcher had 1,688, which I don't think Keon Hatcher will have the same numbers as last year.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'd be able to keep it quite up that. I think he'll still do well. The question of exactly how close he'll be to that remains to be seen. So, but I think all in all, some decent receiver pieces over in BC. Shall we get to the defensive line?
Sure.
So, for your front, they have Tuhema. I don't know how to say it. I'm not gonna lie. I butchered that. My apologies. I'm mispronouncing that name. Tehema. If somebody actually knows the correct pronunciation of it down below, if you could like sound it out in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. Because I know I screwed that up.
Tuhema.
It's funny. I thought you said like tequila. Like, no.
And I said Tehima.
Oh.
Tehima.
No.
Tehima.
Interesting. I got Casey Sales over at D tackle, as well as I think it was Jonah Tavai. Is that right?
Tavia, yes.
Yes. And then, of course, Matthew Betts on the end. Rick, first thoughts.
Yes.
Lions defensive line.
It's gonna be interesting because don't forget, at one point in our lifetime, we did see Christian Covington as part of this defense. And now he's nowhere to be found because he was released.
Yeah.
And now he's without a job. I don't know much about Harris.
Yeah.
Not sure on Bell.
Now, for starters, I will say, for a defensive line, one of the things that looks very good on them, they led the league in sacks. They got 45 sacks, defensive sacks. I'm pretty sure like 10 of those are just Matthew Betts himself, but 10 sacks for him last year. Certainly a damn good number to build on. The question will be, is that maintained? And the answer is, I got no idea.
I will say, though, I'm going to put this out there. So the same guy that provided us the depth chart also...
Yeah, this depth chart, by the way, for those wondering, this is provided by Roar Report. I should have said that at the start. I forgot.
So he actually gave his standing predictions.
Okay.
Which we will have to do at the end of BC's thing. But do you think this year being Sean Mayer's or Sean White's last year?
Like, do I think it's his last year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know in the interview that we did.
I was about to say, we talked to Sean White, and Sean White seemed pretty open to sticking around after. I think there's going to be two big factors, okay? Well, actually, three.
Okay.
So for starters, with where Sean White is in his life, the number one factor is if he wants to do it. That's factor number one. Does he want to continue? Factor number two, how's his production? Is it what it was last year? Has it dropped? I don't know. We'll see. Do the Lions maybe potentially go for some deeper kicks than Sean White is used to doing in anticipation of next year when the uprights move to the back of the end zone? Essentially, do they test the waters with Sean White to be like, okay, like how do we feel about Sean White with these deep kicks? You know what I mean? Maybe not. And then third thing is, going into next season, do the Lions feel they have a suitable replacement? Because at the end of the day, if Sean White wants to play, and the BC Lions are like, but we need a deep ball kicker. We don't really have a deep ball kicker. If they don't have anybody, they're going to stick with White if they have the option. But if they feel that there's someone that they could grab or someone that they do have that can do it better, they make that move. And so that's where I would not rule out Sean White for another season after this. Again, because like we mentioned in the interview, his numbers have not plateaued. They have stayed very good. And so it's one of those things where, do they have him going and kicking all these deep balls? I'm not so sure. Again, the Lions have been able to do very well not requiring that. I think at the end of the day, if your kicker is kicking from 60 yards, it means you weren't able to get closer. You know, I love Sergio Castillo, and I love that he can kick a 60-yard field goal. But the thing that can be frustrating about him kicking a 60-yarder is I would have preferred us to be much closer when the drive got stopped.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how the linebacker is going to do with...
So, Micah always out of there, and Darnell Sankey is in.
That's who it was.
Ben Hladek over on the Will, at the Will. He'll be a decent piece. Justin Williams at the Sam. I remember he had a hit on somebody in Edmonton last year where he just killed them. I can't remember the hit, but it was just a violent hit from a strong side linebacker, very solid linebacker group. And then going to our the secondary there, I think we're just going to try to cover this relatively brief because we've been talking about him for a while.
Yeah.
I got Finley, Gary Peters, Lee, Kent, as well as Colden. So I remember this being correct me if I'm wrong, Rick. Was this not a point of worry for the Lions? Because I mean, like
it was last year.
It was, and I think it was as well in the sense of Rick. If you think about how they lost the West Final, when they had that game locked up, and they gave up pass after pass after pass on Saskatchewan's last drive, there was no stopping it. Now Saskatchewan was an unstoppable beast. In the passing game, that was really difficult to get a read on unless Matthew Betts was sacking Trevor Harris. But it was one of those things where they struggled with it, and so I think getting them back where they want them to be is going to be key.
You know what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
I'm looking for. Even though we're still talking about BC Lions' secondary, I'm looking to see if the Hamilton man himself, the horror of Hamilton's offense, Robert Carter Jr. makes Indy in the NFL, or if he comes back and plays for the Lions this year.
Because that would be a huge injection into this secondary if Robert Carter Jr. can come back. That would be massive. And you are right in the sense of it all depends on if he stays with the Indianapolis Colts or if he gets bumped down. As we're going to have to talk about some of that within our team because there's this guy named Jalen Hutchings who came down from the Minnesota Vikings. Rick, we probably need to record a video on that, but it is what it is. But I think that's pretty much all for the defensive side. And then we already basically talked about their special teams for the most part. I don't see anyone listed here as returner, so I'm not sure who their returner is going to be. Meyer.
Last year it was Seven McGee.
He had done decent, so
okay.
Imagine they'll see him there, and then Sean White, their kicker. So I think that's our look at the Lions.
Before we go on to the Lions,
you mean
Carter,
the Stampeders?
No, before we move on from the Lions, okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You know we have to do this. Where are you projecting BC Lions?
Oh shit. That's tough. You know what? I'm going to go for... Because we don't usually say just one number. I think we gave like a range. Like best case scenario this, worst case scenario this, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
I could see them... Oh, the Lions are tricky. And it's not the offense,
like,
it's the defense.
Do you want to do like a record or spot?
Oh, I'll just do a spot, like a range. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair enough.
So I think they could maybe take first, but I think most likely they're going to be second or third. I think somewhere in there.
Okay.
That would be my most likely, second or third. Possible that they get first. Possible they get fourth if they get seriously unlucky with Nick Rourke getting hurt. But I think second or third is probably where I'd put the Lions in the West. That would be my prediction. As
see this is a hard part
because it's that defense, man. I don't know about that secondary.
It's not even that, because you have BC's offense, then you also have, I would say, even put up there 3 other offenses that have improved in the West.
Yeah.
So it's all going to come down to your defense. And do we think BC's do we think BC's defense has been upgraded enough in the offseason? Because I know everyone's going to predict that their offense can carry this team. But again, your offense can only take you so far.
What's the saying? Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Isn't that the truth?
But if you say that, look at Toronto last year. Toronto's offense had to outscore their defense just to win games.
Yeah, well, that's why they didn't make the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
They'd put up 30 points, and then they'd give up 31. And so, for me, because of that, there's so much... this team can, ride or die, sink or swim on that. Which is why I think second or third is a safe place to put this team.
Yeah, if Roar can stay healthy, I could see them tied for first. And it being a head-to-head with Saskatchewan. So I'm going to say first, best, third, worst.
Yeah. I say fourth worst case scenario because if Rourke gets hurt for a significant period of time or is out for the season, I think you're cooked. I don't see how they stay ahead of Saskatchewan. I don't see how they stay ahead of Winnipeg unless they built up some big lead against Winnipeg. And then even Edmonton and Calgary have been kind of starting to knock on the door. You know what I mean? So that's what I got. But Rick, we've been going for 30 minutes. Oh God, this is gonna be forever. We've talked about one team for 30 minutes.
Listen, we have to go in depth on these.
This is true. We said we wouldn't. We said we wouldn't take shortcuts.
Okay, so
is it time that we get on to the Calgary Stampeders?
I did a lap so I know exactly what the point is.
Oh, I'll be able to do that, but I appreciate that. Which means...
So the next one is...
the Calgary Stampeders.
Calgary Stampeders? Okay.
The Calgary Stampeders.
Because I have to go off my sheet.
Now, we're a little bit more limited as we, unfortunately, Roar Report was able to give us the depth chart for the Lions. We very much appreciate that. We have other sources for other teams. Calgary is one of the teams we do not have a depth chart for. Which means that this is going to be a little bit difficult. However, thankfully, I would argue the Edmonton Elks in their last game, or not their, well, actually the Edmonton Elks put out a starting lineup in their last game, but we're not on Edmonton yet. We're on Calgary. Yeah, Calgary didn't play anybody. So I think we could start with what we know, okay? So we know Vernon Adams is their starting quarterback. That is a not safe assumption. That is a certainty. Vernon Adams, when he is on, he is really on. This is why Calgary traded for VA. Because he was just absolutely lethal in BC. BC brings Rourke back. They give Rourke all this time that year. Rourke doesn't perform very well. They try bringing VA after, but he just lost all his momentum. Vernon Adams is a quarterback that is very momentum driven. Vernon Adams is a quarterback who, as described by some, I think it was Micah Awe who described him this way. He is a slippery quarterback in the sense of he finds a way to just slide out just right between your fingers. He just gets out. You know what I mean? Everybody trying to tackle Vernon Adams Jr. has butterfingers, and I got no idea why. But he just has that effect. He's a very good running quarterback, and he's paired up with a damn good running back, which we're going to get to in just a minute or two. Now, behind him, who do they got behind him, Rick?
They have, as I'm going to use a wrestling reference, we have Brother Love.
I got Josh Love. It's like Dude Love, except it's Josh.
I was going to say Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, but depends on which reference.
I was thinking Dude Love, like. with like the tie-dye shirts. Somebody's gonna clip that and put that somewhere. I know it. Oh man, Josh Love.
I was dancing to the Dude Love theme song.
Oh, absolutely. Someone's gonna edit it in. I know it. I know somebody's doing it as I'm saying this. And who they got behind Josh Love, Rick?
Quincy Vaughn.
Quincy Vaughn. How do we feel about this quarterback depth if Vernon Adams goes down? Because you're gonna find out through over the course of this that some teams have a lot better quarterback depth than others.
People are gonna call me crazy. If Vernon Adams was to go down, I would be bringing Ben Woodledge up from practice roster, and I'd be starting him over Love.
Wow. Why is that?
Love, he didn't show much love in preseason.
Rick was not loving him. You know? It's not as fun of a joke as us dancing to Dude Love's music, but yeah.
So you will have Quincy Vaughn as your short yardage quarterback, Josh Love as the backup, which I wasn't too fond of him last year, which is another reason why I don't.
It's funny. I heard that, and I'm like, Rick, let's be honest. You're not very fond of him this year.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, but
listen, if it was to sink or swim with Josh Love, I'm sorry, Stamp fans.
Yeah,
but you guys are sinking to the bottom of the ocean like that Titanic.
I was about to say, if Josh Love was at the helm, Rick would be the iceberg, and the Stampeders would be the Titanic. Anyways, that brings us to the running back situation, and I can't wait to talk about this because I know Rick is a little bit baffled by some, and I understand why he is. But we talked about this the other day. But they got Dedrick Mills. Dedrick Mills was starter. Dedrick Mills, very good running back, and has been described as a very good running back by a lot of the players as well. I think AJ Allen put out on social media his thing talking about the top CFL running backs. Important thing to note about that post, the CFL asked him what his favorite running backs that he played against, which is why AJ Ouellette was not in that list. Otherwise, he said he would have put him on there. But I think Dedrick Mills was like number 1 or number 2. It was one of his top 5. I know that. And I think it was near the top of running backs to play against was Dedrick Mills of the Calgary Stampeders. Had a career year last year for the Stamps. Going to be looking to do that again. Who do they got behind Dedrick Mills?
They have Tariq McAllister. So for those that don't know, Tariq McAllister used to be the kick returner for the Ticats back in the day before he went down and tried his hand at the NFL and the UFL. And then they have Ludwig Chaquette.
And who's on the practice roster?
But I am going to say by the end of the season, because I get why they put him on the practice roster because he's an American. Either at some point by the end of the season, Dante Mockmahan will be on the active roster, or Dante Mockmahan will be on another team.
Rick, it's meant to be. It's Mockmahan at Mockmahan Stadium. It's meant to be.
Yeah, but if it's gonna be that, you gotta at least start.
If they're gonna keep him on the practice roster, I would not be surprised if he found his way somewhere else.
Like you'll have like another team poach him off there, or they'll cut him. And
I think the second we see a running back go down and get hurt, Mockmahan might get snagged.
I mean, depends on who your backup running back is per se.
Yeah, but even if they snag Mockmahan to be go in to be a backup at that point, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't say he gets snagged and they immediately throw him in. He still wouldn't know the playbook, but they probably snag him and throw him as backup at least. But yeah, So very, very solid running back depth for the Stampeders, certainly. Which then brings us to their offensive line. Their offensive line last year was very much in the middle of the pack. They got 33 sacks over the course of the season, which puts them 5th in the league, so dead center. Just very, very average. If we look at their rushing offense, they did very, very well. They got 126.7 yards per game. Part of that, of course, was Dedrick Mills doing a fantastic job as a running back. But when it comes to the rushing game, the offensive line is just as important as the running back running and getting those yards. So good performance by the Stampeders offensive line last year was able to help in that regard. So it's good that they got good rush blocking, because I'd argue that's probably the most important, because when it comes to pass blocking, Vernon Adams is a guy who's going to find his way to that pocket and do some crazy things. And so naturally, he doesn't need to be as protected as a dedicated pocket passer, like a guy like Trevor Harris, for example. But some good offensive pieces for the Stampeders regardless. Which then, Rick, is there anything else you got for offensive line, or does that pretty much cover it? And you want to get to receivers?
No,
Still want to skip ahead of you there.
Much.
Yeah. So that means that then we go to the receivers.
So with receivers, there was 2 question marks. One's already gone. One's still here.
Let's hear it.
So the one question mark was Malik Henry. Were we finally going to see Malik Henry play again? Well, Malik Henry was not brought back. But the player that they did bring back is Reggie Bagleton. At what point are we going to see Reggie Bagleton? Because I was also looking at...
Bagleton is very good. They just have to keep him healthy. That has been a problem.
So the interesting thing is... Spoiler alert, I was actually checking out the injury report today, because injury reports are now a thing now, because it's the week 1 of regular season. He did not practice today.
Oh. He's either injured or lazy.
but do not forget, they actually brought in Dejon Brissett from Toronto.
Yeah.
Who was a key player for them as well. Jalen Philpott has also stepped up.
Yeah,
and
I mean, Jalen Philpott is really finally... I think Philpott is finally starting to hit his stride, because for a few years it was, he's good, but his brother's better.
He's injured.
Well, and he kind of was in the shadow of Tyson Philpott. Where I think now he's really started to kind of carve his own identity over in Calgary. He's become one of their bigger players rather than just big name. He's now actually he's got that backup. You know what I mean? And he's done very, very well. Like, even if I just take a look here, I want to pull it up. Jalen Philpott in the CFL, he's only 25 years old. For starters, he is young. But last year, so he goes from 317. So he had 317 receiving yards his first year, 659 next year. Last year, 830. Still gets himself 3 touchdowns, and his average is 13.6. So did relatively decent. Got his longest catch yet. He had the 66-yard reception, went all the way down. So he's been steadily growing and growing and growing. And keep in mind, that 830 he got in 16 games, as opposed to his second year where he got 659, but that was in 18 games. So less games, still more yardage. His development has been going very, very well, and I would not put it past him if this year he becomes a 1,000-yard receiver. I could see it.
The only way that he could be a 1,000-yard receiver is if Reggie Bagleton doesn't play and Clark Barnes goes down, because then you would only have Dejon Brissett and Tevin Jones and Jalen Philpott.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the tricky thing here as well is because I want to see something with Bagleton. How many games has he played the last few years? Like, because I remember, like, 2024, he plays all 18 games. He does decent. 1,000-yard receiver. Last year, he played 2 games. And he's had a few seasons like that. His first 2 seasons, he only played 9 games. 2021, 2 games played. 2025, 2 games played. And then some variation.
So if history repeats itself, this is the year that he goes full season.
Not necessarily, but what it means is that the healthiness or lack of healthiness of Reggie Begelton from an injury perspective is extremely unpredictable, and that will be a factor here, no question. And then of course Brissett, as well as who was the other one that you mentioned? Was it Barnes? Was it that I'm forgetting here? Yeah, who had done decent, and so. Some good receiving pieces over for the Stampeders, which then brings them to their defensive lines. Thoughts on the D-line, Rick?
Let me pull up their
who all they
defensive
got
line.
here. This is what happens when they don't release information.
So Miles Brown is back. Hicks is back. Flo Odumalade is back.
Odumalade did decent.
Yeah, those are the 3 big names that jump out at me. When it comes to their
Charles Wiley, he was there as well. He's a big guy, 6'3", 272. Because if I'm looking here,
but those were
he had 5 sacks last year. Charles Wiley, he had done very well. And he's still in his 20s. He's only 28 years old. So that's a guy that I think we could see some solid production out of. Now, and then Jalen Hutchings. He's a D lineman, right? Almost positive.
He's a D lineman, but
he will be returning to the Stampeders after spending a short stint with the Minnesota Vikings.
So
last year, he got 39 defensive tackles and 8 sacks in 17 games. Yes, Rick?
It's all depends on who you talk to. Because who did the interview? Dave Dickinson said that both Flo and Hutchins were limited today. Hutchins was limited with a hamstring injury. Flo is limited with an Achilles.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Achilles is not something that you
rush.
Just can be like, oh.
Hamstring, you can usually doesn't take crazy. I mean, usually you can be okay with that.
It all depends because then you could use Davis Alexander as an example with the hamstring last year.
Yeah, well, you can play with a hurt hamstring. It also, I think a hamstring usually heals a little faster than Achilles does. Achilles, I think, takes a bit more time.
So it all depends on how bad.
I'm not a medical expert.
No. I'm just saying it all depends on how bad it is because Brandon Barlow, who is with the Elks, just ruptured his Achilles and he's out for the season.
Yeah, so you don't want to rush it. Is that what I'm hearing, Rick?
Well, I mean, it all depends on how bad it is. Like, if it's Flo's dealing with one from the offseason, I don't know if he is, or his isn't as bad. At least he's not out for the season.
Yeah. But with that, their defensive line had done solid. Like, if I'm taking a look here, at least I thought they did decent. I want to bring up their defensive rushing stats.
Sure.
Yeah, so they actually did relatively... I just want to see here. Am I looking at the right thing? Yeah, they did very okay. They did very okay last year because they were about middle of the pack, but that stat is a little bit in terms of sacks. They got 40 defensive sacks. However, that's a little bit deceiving. They got 5th which meant they were the middle of the pack. However, they were a lot closer to the better side of things than worse, because best in the league was the BC Lions with 45 sacks. Calgary had 40. They were only behind by 5, whereas the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, which were in last, had 23. Almost like cut in half. So as much as they are fifth in the league, they are certainly a lot closer to the top end of things than they are to the bottom end of things. So just kind of an important thing to note for that defensive line. Now, for their linebackers, if I'm looking at their roster, I see Kalechi Anyalabechi, as well as Maurice Blackwell. I see there, if I'm just looking through there.
Marquel Lee.
Micah
Tights. Kyle Wilson. Those are
and
three
Luke
names
Wilson.
that step out.
See, that scared some. Some people got scared by that. But all in all, I think it's a decent linebacker group. Again, I don't think it's the absolute
right home about linebacker group.
Yes, and because we will see some of those. But I also don't think this is the write them off linebacker group either. I think it's a pretty evenly, pretty balanced linebacker group, and something that you certainly can do some good stuff with. We're just going to have to see. Which brings us to the secondary. Which, if I'm looking here, I see Sheldon Arnold II.
So, I just want to mention one thing.
Yeah?
Do not forget Dedrick Moncrief does play the same linebacker position. So
That's
he's
right.
Technically linebacker. So
Linebacker /
Calgary's
DB.
back linebacker group isn't as bad as it seems.
Adrian Green, Anton Hay, Anthony Johnson.
Green had a really good season last year.
Ben Labrosi.
I'm sure, if I can remember, Damian Webb was on the team last year.
Yeah.
Kenyon Yaku, who we interviewed on his channel, his brother plays, or his cousin brother plays for Calgary.
Yeah. And then even if I'm looking here, they got Ben Labrosi as well, who had done. He was a decent. He was a decent national DB, who had a pretty solid first year for the Stamps. Took a bit of a step back last year.
Who's that?
Ben Labrosi. He went to McGill University.
Mm-hmm.
So he had done decent there. Another piece of their secondary. But if I kind of keep looking through here, is there anyone? And then I think it was Damon Webb. You just said, or
Damian Webb.
Damon Webb. It's Damon. So that would be Damon, like Matt Damon. Because Damien would be
apples,
like,
oranges, potato. Same.
That's not potato. That's potato carrot.
Potato carrot.
It's a different vegetable. Rick, I understand some of these are going to be difficult. There's no fucking I in Damon. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Bug harder sometimes.
What'd you say?
I said I just like to bug you sometimes.
You like to bug me sometimes. You bug me every day, Rick. Let's be real here.
Never.
It's okay. I bug you every day as well. That's fine. But Damon Webb, another decent piece there. Which then, special teams, Rick. Who do they got?
So we have Paredes, who's still kicking at the age of 41.
They got Jason McGugan as their long snapper. Is that right? And then Mark Vassett as their punter.
So Mark Vassett is their new punter this year because Fraser Mazin was let go at free agency. He signed with us, and he ended up getting cut.
Damn.
So
we've went through enough of the video, and you know what this means now, Rick? Ho, ho, ho. Oh, we're bringing the alcohol in.
Oh God.
These things are good, man. Jameson's Orange Spritz. It's good shit. It's like Orange Crush, but with like whiskey in it. It's nice. Anyways, though, all in all,
So-
I think summary thoughts for the Calgary Stampeders. I love how we said we did 30 minutes on the first team. And they're like, we gotta tighten ship. And then we go 25 in the second team. So we're gonna be here like forever. It's never gonna end.
Man.
Being here an hour and we've talked about 2 fucking teams in a 9-team league.
Yeah, but look how much depth we gone into them though.
I know. Honestly, we did pretty good considering we had no depth chart. Like, I'm impressed.
So I would say, and I'm gonna be honest,
Why would you lie?
I'm gonna say third best, fifth worst. I do not see them as the top two team.
I agree with that 100%. That is exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say 3 is their best case scenario and 5 is their worst case scenario. This is a team that I could also potentially see maybe being a crossover. We will have to see. But I agree with your assessment. So, Rick, shall we move on?
Yes, sir. We shall.
Alrighty, which means that we are moving on to the other Alberta team, the Edmonton Elks. And unfortunately, this is another team where we do not have a depth chart to look at. However, as much as we don't have a depth chart of like what they're most likely going to have for this season, we kind of got that with the second preseason game. It's not entirely accurate, but I think it is a fair baseline. Is that accurate, Rick?
True.
I think some of these guys got cut, so I do want to have some notes pulled up here because I don't want to accidentally say a guy's in the team when he's gotten cut. So thankfully, and actually that's the other thing that's wonderful. That's the other thing that's wonderful about you, Rick. You post all the cuts and transaction on our Discord.
Yes.
Again, this is another reason I'm gonna freaking plug the Discord again. If you haven't joined our Discord, it's honestly great. Link in the description below. Please join up. So
Carter, here's a thought. Pull up the team's website, go to their roster, and it's updated.
is it?
It is.
I know, but it doesn't show it in depth chart format, and I like going position by position, and I don't have it organized nicely. I
just sort it by position.
I didn't do that.
You can sort it by position.
I didn't know.
That's what I've been doing.
I didn't know you could do that. Shut up, Rick. I didn't know you
Stop
could do
making
that.
me look bad.
I didn't make you look bad. I actually made you look good because I told you that you did it right.
I'm saying, you saying, Rick, stop making me look bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck you, Rick. Anyways. Cody Fajardo. He's the starting quarterback.
Yes.
Yes. Cody uprights Dinger Fajardo. But he's a Grey Cup champion, so I can't rag on him for that forever. But it was really funny when it happened. Cody Fajardo, starting quarterback for the Edmonton Elks. They bring him in, I think, is it last year or the year prior? I can't remember when they brought Fajardo in.
This is his second year with Edmonton.
Yeah, so they brought him in last year as they were kind of like, all right, we've given Trey Ford, we're going to give Trey Ford a bit of a look. Cody Fajardo is going to come in and he's going to run short yardage. But the idea being that if Trey Ford ever just isn't performing the way we want, Fajardo can go in. Fajardo goes in, and it's clear that he is that starter. But they tried to give Ford that time, and it just didn't seem like the fit was there. Cody Fajardo goes in and has a pretty decent year. Like, I just want to pull it up here so that way I can reference it here. But Cody Fajardo goes in, does relatively solid, 18 games played. Again, keep in mind he didn't start all of those games. So, like he was backup for a lot of that. So, keep in mind. Gets himself 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 3,408 passing yards. Not the best in the league, but certainly a respectable quarterback performance by Fajardo. Solid piece for the Edmonton Elks. More of a pocket passer compared to some others like Vernon Adams, like we were just talking about, for example, but not completely immobile. Behind him, though, is Taylor Powell. This is going to be one of the backups that, in my opinion, has got a bit more promise. Fajardo has flirted with the idea of retirement and maybe a little earlier in the past. And so a guy like Taylor Powell is someone that potentially they could take the reins. I don't know, but he's going to be he's going to be backing them up. However, Rick, I think you should speak a little bit more on this, as you had him over in Hamilton. So how is Taylor Powell?
Yeah, but the thing is, Taylor Powell, let me just bring up his numbers here for a second. So when Taylor Powell first came into the league, he was someone, I forget, can't remember if it was, because this would have been Bo's second year. So I think that would have been, I'm trying to remember who was our other quarterback. Because Bo didn't come in till the end of 23. Maybe Mazzoli or Jaden Evans, one of the two. It's, when you turn 40, your life just goes before your eyes, and your memory's not as good as it once was.
I feel like you're saying this because you turned 40 like a week ago, right?
No, but I honestly couldn't tell you before Bo if it was Dane Evans or Mazzoli. I think it was both, but anyways, he went in and he got us to the playoffs, because that was the year that both quarterbacks got injured. And that's right, because then they had Newman. So Evans, I think, wasn't on the team anymore. So Mazzoli came in. Mazzoli got injured. Then there was Jamie Newton. Newman came in. He got injured. And then another quarterback got injured. So then Powell came in. Powell took us to the playoffs, but then lost in the playoffs. And yeah, so given his chance, I could see him doing well in Edmonton. It's just because with Bo in Hamilton now, he was not giving the chance. So he wanted to, go where the money is greener and do better for himself.
Yeah, makes sense. So over in Edmonton, and so hopefully I'll have a decent time there.
You have Cody Fajardo as starter, Powell as backup, and Cole Schneider as your short yardage quarterback.
Yeah, because I'm taking a look at the cuts here, and I see that Zabrowski was cut. So Snyder will stick around. It's not Schneider. It's Snyder. But regardless, I'd say from a depth perspective, probably the best quarterback depth overall. Not necessarily the best starter, but I think when it comes to backups, I think they have a pretty decent... Like, if Fajardo goes down, I don't think Edmonton's season's screwed. I think there's still hope compared to some of the other teams that we've looked at. Now, we go to the running back position. Justin Rankin. Very, very good running back for the Edmonton Elks. Now, and this is a little bit deceiving here, as who do they have backing him up? Because the reason the reason why I say this is, so in the preseason, I saw that they didn't have Leak listed as a running back, and they have him listed as a returner, because he does play returner. However, he started as a running back in Edmonton, so I have to imagine that he is kind of that backup running back, and that he'll get some sort of reps at that, maybe at fullback. I don't know. But I imagine he'll get some offensive time as well, Javon Leak. And did they keep Powell or Knight? Like Powell as in like the other Powell.
The other Powell is on practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am going to say, though, because it
And that
kind of
was
ties in with running back.
Derek Powell.
Yeah, so this will also tie in with running back. I'm shocked that Bradley Haladic, Ben Haladic's brother, who's been in the CFL for multiple years, got put on the practice squad.
Hmm.
But that's just me.
Yeah. So, shall we get to the offensive line?
We shall.
Now, who do you think is their starter? Do you think it's Beard or do you think it's Corte?
So, this is what I like to call the Edmonton Elks.
Why? Because Woodmansey and Murray are over there?
How about Baird used to be with us, Bordner used to be with us, Murray's there, Woodmansey's there, Powell's there. The list goes on. So, it's going to be Bordner and Murray on the tackles, Woodmansey as the one guard,
Yeah.
David Beard as the center, and I'm not sure who the other guard's going to be.
O'Donnell?
I believe so.
Unless Beard plays center and they slide Corte to guard. It's very easy to slide a center to guard. So.
Yeah, but David Beard is a natural center, though.
I didn't say you slide Beard. I said you slide Corte. So.
Yeah, but Corte would be a backup. He wouldn't be starting.
Unless they slid him to left guard. But again, because usually in a game, you dress 6, maybe 7 offensive linemen.
Something like that.
So, we'll see. But decent offensive line. Before I start making assumptions, let's take a look at how their offensive line performed last year. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I see why they spent money on their offensive line. Second worst in the league in sacks given up, 51. That I would like to diagnose with yuck. Let's take a look at the rushing.
But at the same time, everywhere Fajardo goes, the sacks go along.
Yes, this is right. Cody, it's not a real Cody Fajardo game if he doesn't get hammered behind his offensive line at least 5 times. Poor Cody Fajardo. Bro's like, he's like, hey, if you guys could protect me next time.
So the way that I put Edmonton is, instead of trying to develop their talent, they like to buy their talent.
Yes, this is very true. This is very true. The Edmonton Elks have tried to win the Grey Cup by pulling their wallet around and smacking everybody in sight with it. I
can just imagine that.
Quack, quack. You're a fucking elk. You're an elk. You're an elk. Guess what? You thought you're an Argonaut? Nope. Elk.
Sounds like that lady for the cell phone commercials.
Yes. And then in the rushing offense, their offensive line was exactly 500. They were right in the middle. 98.1 yards per game, as well as an average of, they were slightly in 4th place, so just slightly up from average, of 5.18 yards per carry in general for their running game. So, O-line, brutal in the pass block last year. They were talking last year's numbers. Brutal in the pass block, rush block, they were okay. The big question will be, with the injection of Woodmansey and Murray and some other stuff, How they're going to do now, we'll have to see.
Also, one thing I'd like to say,
Uh-huh.
Elk fans, if a certain individual on your offensive line costs you a game, I don't want to hear it. Carter knows who I'm going to mention. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm just saying if a certain individual costs you a game because of his
2025 East Final. Sorry, I had a little bit of the hiccups there. Rick knows who I'm talking about. I know who Rick's talking about. We're gonna leave it at that. But
yes, and this person, if he costs you a game, I don't want to hear it because you guys are the ones that threw the wallet at him.
This is what happens when you throw the bag. Anyways, shall we get on to the receivers?
We shall.
How are we feeling about this receiver group? Because I wanna take a look in here. Let's start by position. Let's get all those receivers pulled up. So for the receivers, man, they got Joshua Keefus or Cephas. It has Julian Grant listed. Is that accurate? Because I thought
Keon Julian Grant.
Am I? Which is the one that Hamilton got?
For what?
Which receiver is it that you guys snagged from Edmonton?
Curly Gittens Jr.
Curly Gittens Jr. That's right. I thought I got the two mixed up.
No.
Because I couldn't remember if it was Julian Grant or if it was, yeah. So they got Julian Grant and then Carter Kettle, T.J. Luther, Austin Mack, who had gotten released from the Alouettes, who they picked up, Zach Mathis, Brendan O'Leary Orange, as well as
another former Ticat.
Another former Ticat, that's right. And Joe Robustelli, former Rider. So, decent receiver group. Julian Grant, as well as Kettle, Mathis, and O'Leary Orange, all as their nationals. Rick, shall you get us started with your thoughts on the receiver group?
So this is going to be interesting because the first game of the season, it's let's throw your wallet at the players in the West versus let's throw your money at the players in the East.
Yes. The battle of wallet slapping.
Yes. Who needs a bowl name when you can just call it the bottom of the wallet slapping?
the wallet slap bowl.
So, I have a question for you.
The TD Bank Financial Bowl. Sorry.
My question to you is, with the receiver group that Edmonton has, with the receiver group that Calgary has, which Alberta team could you see doing better based on just not their whole team,
okay.
Just the receiver group?
Here's the problem. Do you want to know what the problem is? So, I think potentially Calgary by a little bit, but here is the big elephant in the room. This is like elephant-sized elephant in the room, okay? On the Stampeders, the health and safety of Reggie Begelton. On the Edmonton Elks, the health and safety of Austin Mack. Who's going to win? I don't know.
Fair enough.
Keeping both of them healthy has proved to be a problem. This is why the Alouettes released Austin Mack, despite him being a fantastic receiver who, as a Bomber fan, he caused me nightmares. I lost sleep over this man. But
really?
Yes,
I thought you would have lost sleep over Kenny Lawler.
What?
I thought you would have lost sleep over Kenny Lawler.
No, I won Grey Cups with Kenny Lawler. That's different. I didn't win Grey Cups with Austin Mack. I lost Grey Cups because of Austin Mack.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I owe you that guy that whooped your ass a couple years ago.
In Hamilton.
I'm sure you saw it. All in beautiful 4K, courtesy of your eyes.
I saw it in person. Yes. I don't need to see it in 4K.
I know. I was jokingly saying that your eyesight was 4K. That's what I was saying. Don't ever do that again. Anyways, this is how you could tell we've been doing this for a while. Shall we get to the defensive side of things? We talked about the offensive side for a bit.
The interesting defensive line, sure.
Yes. So they Jared Brinkman is there. It's kind of surprising to see somebody stick around in this, and not because Jared Brinkman shouldn't have stuck around. He was very good, and good for him to stick around. I'm just used to seeing Edmonton look for talent elsewhere. Jake Serezna was a piece that they had lost. They lost him to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Williams is around, and then Malik Carney comes in at defensive end for the Edmonton Elks after his departure from Saskatchewan. They got,
Don't forget, Robbie Smith came last year.
Yeah, they got.
Or the year
but
before.
if I go through them kind of top to bottom, besides the one I've talked about, they got Elijah Alston, Brandon Barlow, DK Bonham, again Brinkman as well as Carney, Noah Curtis, Tamari Fox, Silas Hubert, Darlin Newell, Robbie Smith, who we talked about as well, Noah Taylor, and Jordan Williams. So a lot of decent pieces for that D-line. This is a D-line that, like, what my problem has been? Edmonton, the D-line is something that usually Edmonton is invested in, and the results have either not been there or they've gotten there later in the season and not from the start.
Carter, do you remember one event that happened last year?
I'm listening.
Do you remember the Edmonton-Toronto fiasco on the sidelines? And
yes.
Jordan Williams was involved in the middle of it.
That's right. I forgot about that. I just remember the scrum and a lot of people yelling.
And coaches trying to fight each other.
Yes, that's what I meant by a lot of people yelling. What I meant by a lot of people yelling was Ryan Dinwiddie not being very excited. Actually, he was very excited in all the wrong ways. And so, yeah. But solid defensive line. Like, actually, if we take a look at their stats from last year, because I think that's actually a good point of reference. They were exactly 500. They were 5.03 yards on average given up rushing. So against the rush defense, they were exactly par. And then in terms of the amount of sacks that they got in their defense against the pass, really didn't produce much. 24 sacks total, which put them absolutely on the low end. With only the Bombers being behind them at 23. They were tied with Ottawa for second last. But then after 24, it goes up to 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, 45 with the BC Lions. So Edmonton Elks barely not last. Again, only Winnipeg was behind them. Winnipeg goes through a lot of effort to bring in some more pieces, which we will talk about later in the video. Now, is there anything else that actually you have for the D-line, Rick? Or
no?
Can we safely move to the linebackers?
Oh, yes, I forgot them. I went straight to DBs. I forgot the linebackers.
So, linebackers. We have Nick Anderson, of course. Daryl Jabome. Yoel Dublanco. Ativa Moga Clements. Yes?
Just continue. I just got to go upstairs and help my mom with her phone. I'll be right back.
Brock Morganson. Justin Pace. Luke Burton-Cron. Or no, Luke Burton is the safety. I was reading the list and I read too far. I literally said it and then realized immediately after that I screwed up. But, of course, kind of the big piece there as kind of your number one that we need to look into and talk about a bit is Nick Anderson, which I'm going to pull up here on the website. Nick Anderson, really, really young player for the Edmonton Elks and has already had a relatively solid impact. As if we're taking a look here, I want to pull up his Wikipedia as well. So, he's an American linebacker. He's 26, born January 27th, 2000, Vicksburg, Mississippi, United States, and has been a solid piece, including he was the most outstanding rookie in 2024. I could be wrong, but I believe was it Shamar Bridges that he beat? I'm trying to remember who he beat that year. I think it was Shamar Bridges, but he also won the Jackie Parker Trophy that year. He was a CFL West All-Star as well as a CFL All-Star. And then in his time in college, he was second team All-AAC. Rick, Nick Anderson, 2024 most outstanding rookie. He beat Shamar Bridges, is that right? 2024? Pretty sure it was Shamar Bridges that he beat. Can you confirm that, please? But he had done pretty well in his years. 111 defensive tackles in his rookie year. 3 sacks, an interception, 2 forced fumbles. Absolutely batshit insane. Last year, only 7 games played, 41 defensive tackles, still gets himself a sack. Nick Anderson is a vital piece of this linebacker group. Has been and will be for a long time if the Elks are smart. He's only 26.
Yes,
you want to keep him around for a while. It was Shamar Bridges? That's right.
Yes.
I was pretty sure about that. So, we got Nick Anderson. Who else we got, Rick?
Let me go back to
who do they got playing with him? Is it going to be Morganson or Dublanco? Or who do you think starts with?
Brock. Let me...
Brock Morganson?
I want to say it will be... So DeBlanco will be the weak side linebacker. Morganson will be... It's weird because they had Morganson starting and Anderson the backup to Morganson.
Yeah, in the preseason, but I know that Anderson's going to be their starting middle linebacker.
So
there's no way he's
going to be swapped. So it's going to be DeBlanco as the weak side linebacker, Anderson, and then Logan Jr. as same linebacker.
Is Logan Jr. still? Is he in the lineup or was he released?
Logan Jr. is a DB.
Oh, that's right, because you're mentioning. I forget. Yes, for those who are not aware,
DB positions, my friend.
Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they're listed as a DB, sometimes they're listed as a linebacker. But they do play an aspect of linebacker that is more in pass protection than it is in rush protection. That is true. But linebackers, solid group for the Edmonton Elks. Which brings us to the DBs, which, if we're getting into that, we're going to exclude Kenneth Logan Jr. as he's going to be strong side linebacker most likely. Terrell Ford, one of the big ones. Jalen Garnes, Cordell Jackson, Leonard Johnson, as well as J.J. Ross, Benjamin Sangma, and Kobe Williams. Some decent pieces there. Of course, Terrell Ford being one of the more notable ones. Had a very, very good had a good first 2 years in Winnipeg. His first year, nothing to write home about. Very good year. Second year, 51 defensive tackles, 4 special teams tackles, and 7 interceptions. Terrell Ford was just all over it that year. His last year with Edmonton, tackles-wise, his production was about the same, 56 and 1. So 56 defensive tackles, 1 special teams, 2 interceptions, but gets himself his first CFL touchdown in the green and gold. Now, with Terrell Ford, this is a little bit interesting as, of course, he goes to Edmonton because of his brother Trey Ford, who is now over in Hamilton. So we will have to see if he goes from the blue and gold to the green and gold and maybe eventually the black and gold.
Black and gold.
So it's worth mentioning, because I could see it happening eventually. But for the time being, he's in the green and gold over with the Edmonton Elks. The secondary here, if we take a look at their pass defense, the Edmonton Elks did pretty... They didn't do so great. So the Edmonton Elks were dead last in For their passing defense. They gave up an average of 288.7 passing yards per game. The Alouettes were the best, 238.8. The Edmonton Elks, 288.7, which is almost 20 full yards behind second, which is the Calgary Stampeders at 269.8. So Edmonton Elks secondary struggled last year. I have to imagine that that is something they are looking to improve going into this season. Is there anything else you want to talk about defense, or you want to quickly talk about special teams before we wrap up Edmonton? Rick?
I'm just trying to think. No, I'm...
Okay.
I mean, besides kicker and punter...
Yeah, besides special teams, you know what I mean? Like... So...
Berton Cron is still the long snapper. Jake Julian's still the punter. And Blanchard is the kicker. Yeah. Oh, one thing that we forgot to mention. Royce Metier, who was on the team last year.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Is on the 6th game.
That is a good point. I completely forgot to mention that.
I was just going down looking at if there was any kickers or anything that I was missing, and then I seen him on the 6th game.
Yeah, I just remember that Noah posted the kicker stats last year in our Discord, so I just actually found those. Just to talk about Vincent Blanchard. So Blanchard actually was out of all the starters in the CFL, he was ranked 7th in terms of field goal percentage. Just purely that one stat. His longest was a 52-yarder, which was the third shortest, as Lewis Ward only hit 50 and Sean White hit 49. When he was kicking from under 20 yards, Blanchard went 4 for 4. Didn't miss any of them. From 20 to 39 yards, he went 21 for 23. So he missed 2. Between 40 and 49, he went 7 for 12. And from 50 plus, he went 3 for 5. So overall, Blanchard, for a guy that was, I think that was his first full season in the league as a kicker, did relatively solid, and he hit all but 1 PATs, going 40 for 41, and generally did relatively well. He also got 2 rouges. However, that is something that you're just not going to see anymore from kickers, for the most part. Like, no, not that you're never going to see it, but you're not going to see them on a missed kick through the back as you would before, or like say on kickoff in that regard, unless the guy's tackled or takes a knee. So I almost wonder if they record that stat differently. But I think it's time, Rick. Where do we place the Edmonton Elks? Because do you know where I put them?
I put them in the same spot that I put the
3 and 5. 3 and 5. Yep, that's right. 3 is the ceiling, 5 is the floor. I put them in the exact same spot as the Stampeders. It seems me and you completely agree on Alberta. Is that right? As he takes a huge sip of Gatorade while I'm saying this. So, Rick, are we ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
All right. Meaning we are now on to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The defending Grey Cup champions coming into the 2026 CFL season with, you got to imagine big expectations for starters. And now, you know what's great about this, Rick? You know what's awesome? We have access to a depth chart that someone's put together for Saskatchewan. Again, it may not be perfect, but it will certainly be better than what we would have on our own. So big credit here to CJME 980 AM, which I believe is a Rider radio station. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
As they were able to provide a full depth chart. Again, for those wondering, oh, Rick, Your camera cut out on.
Yes, I know. I will be that. Just doing something in the background. Don't mind me.
Okay. Okay. Yes, but going into the offense here.
Ew, that disgusting green.
Oh yeah, turn it off, turn it off. I see why you turned it off. Yuck. I'm kidding, Rick. You can show your face. But yeah, actually, before I get into that, again, reminder: if you guys are wanting to follow along, link in the description below to the Discord with all of the wonderful depth charts that we are referencing. And again, a thank you. They didn't provide it directly to us. They just provided it online. But a thank you to CJME 980 AM for going through the effort to make a depth chart. We appreciate that. And starting quarterback is Trevor Harris, who, again, the only question of Trevor Harris being the starting quarterback was if he was going to re-sign and retire. But he re-signed, so.
One thing I will mention is they have 4 quarterbacks.
I noticed that.
And they're not the only team that has 4 quarterbacks, because I'm pretty sure there was another team this offseason that had 4 quarterbacks on their roster.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure they have to place one on the one game. Maybe they're not sold on Cohen yet as a second string.
Suspended list, some shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if Cohen gave them quite what they're hoping for, but then again, he also was a really solid recruit from Notre Dame, so, like...
But then Shager had a good preseason, but then he really didn't, so it's kind of like
he did.
Tit for tat.
And I don't see Saskatchewan wanting to drop Tommy Stevens, even though they know that realistically he's never going to be the throwing guy that those other guys are. He's so valuable as a good short yardage QB that they don't want to move him. And so with that, Trevor Harris is the starter. He's going on. He's 40 now. So, I mean, if you're Saskatchewan, you got to hope that he's still got it in him. He certainly did very, very well last year, as long as he was protected. Keeping a good offensive line was very important. And they have a lot of really, really solid pieces that we will get into in a minute or two. Cohen is a backup. On paper, pretty solid. In the preseason, just being okay. Shager put on a little bit of a surprisingly solid performance and has earned his spot on there. And then Tommy Stevens needs no introduction. He is the best short yardage quarterback in the CFL currently.
Okay.
And that would be my assessment of the Rider QBs. Is that accurate? I think that's pretty accurate.
Fair enough.
Which brings us to their running backs. Starting with A.J. Ouellette. A.J. Ouellette, very, very solid running back for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The question has always been keeping him healthy. Last year, they were able to keep him relatively healthy, and he had a very, very good year. Also had really good benefit of a really nice O-line in front of him. Did very, very well in their rush blocking. But A.J. Ouellette has himself a solid year. But even then, really, really reliable backup in Thomas Bertrand-Hudon. That was a guy that I wasn't sure if they'd be able to hold on to, as that's sometimes where you can lose guys if you keep your starter on a Grey Cup winning year. Also, thank you to everyone who tuned in to all of our signing videos. We had Bertrand-Hudon was one that had done very, very well. Actually, if I search Thomas Bertrand-Hudon, our video on Thomas Bertrand-Hudon is one of the first things that pops up in a Reddit article. So thank you to Google for promoting Canadian Football Central. We appreciate it. But
so here's my problem with this is I get that Conley's on the practice roster, but you cannot tell me that Conley is better than Mario Anderson Jr.
Yeah, that one kind of surprises me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But we shall see.
You know what, though? I think a lot of teams are going with one Canadian, one American running back.
Yeah.
So
Just
that
to
if
give them the flexibility.
Yeah.
They want to throw in an American receiver, pull out Ouellette, put Bertrand Hudon in. He'll do solid still. It gives them options, that's for sure. And then at fullbacks, you got Runge as well as Awache. So decent in that regard. Bringing us to the offensive line, that right side is looking deadly. So on the left side, they got Collins as well as, is that Zach Fry? Is that right?
Collins and Zach Fry, yes.
Yeah, and then Zach Fry, I think, although he had played centered at some point as well. So he, I don't know if he was necessarily last year, but I know he certainly, because I think there might have been time where Logan Ferland was maybe out a little bit and he had gone there. Like, I know Zach Fry had played a bit of center as well, but he's playing guard here. Logan Ferland at center, who, did he win most outstanding offensive lineman or did he lose as a runner-up? It was one of the two.
Who's that, Ferland?
Logan Ferland against Ryan Hunter.
No, Ryan Hunter won it.
Ryan Hunter won. So he lost, but he lost still did very, very well. Jacob Brammer at right guard. That was actually a free agent that I was eyeing up as a Bomber fan, hoping we can maybe snag him. We ended up getting Jarrell Broxton. I was very, very happy with that, but Brammer sticks around. Jacob Brammer is a huge reason why the running game can be so deadly for Saskatchewan. Jacob Brammer
on the right side.
Jacob Brammer in rush blocking is just, he's what you want. He's what you want for your running back. And then Jamarcus Hardrick, Big Yoshi, needs no introduction. Got himself his Grey Cup ring today. I believe his third Grey Cup ring, as he got the 2 in Winnipeg, and I don't think he has any others besides those. But very, very good offensive line, especially in the rushing game. Which brings us to the passing game. To the receivers. Rick, I'm going to let you go for a little bit here.
Okay, so I'm going to go from left to right.
Yep.
So you have Keyshawn Johnson on the left side. Sexton impressed me in training camp, so we'll see how long they hold him onto the practice roster for. To the right of them, we have Shake and Bake. Keon Schaefer-Baker. To the right of the the running backs, we have Duncan Busby and Mims. To the right of that, we have Amelis.
Last year's Grey Cup most outstanding Canadian.
D-Jet.
Most valuable Canadian, sorry.
And then to the right of them, the far wide receiver spot, it's Jad Johnson, Letcher, Joe Johnson, and then Weeb.
So, I would say overall a very, very solid receiver group for the Riders. They lost some of their depth in like Robustelli, Tommy Neild, because last year, you know what it was? The Saskatchewan Roughriders receiving group last year was like, it was that gun with unlimited ammo. It doesn't matter like how many times they shot, and I wonder how many guys went down. There was always it's just there was always another really damn good
one. And see if it plans. And
all their backups were insane. It was one of those things where even if 3 guys got hurt, they just sent on the other gods onto the field to do the work for them. So it's like they were very, very good. They're still very good, but they have lost a little bit of depth. But it was going to be completely unsustainable to keep all of them. Saskatchewan did a relatively good job keeping a lot of guys together. Which brings us then to the defensive line. Now, with this, obviously there's the absence of Malik Carney. Mike Rose sticks around. James Vaughters comes in from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to take the defensive end spot over on the right-hand side. And then, why is my... Why am I blanking here? I'm trying to remember their first names. I'm just getting the team roster pulled up here just so I can have it all.
Yep, no worries.
But
while you do that, you know who's I would not be shocked if he was picked up by another team by the end of the season?
what?
Daniel Wiebe, the wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. But if I'm looking here, Caleb Sanders as well as Desmond Evans. Now, I will say behind Sanders, they got as well Kendi Charles as well as Devin Adams. Devin Adams was a guy I wasn't crazy about losing over in Winnipeg. I kind of had hopes that we could see a bit more from him, but I'd say from a decent perspective, the defensive line for Saskatchewan definitely has taken a hit from last year. Absolutely. But it still is, I'd say, a pretty good, or at least at bare minimum, average defensive line. As if we're looking here, last year, Saskatchewan generated 43 sacks against a passing offense. And then their rush defense.
Where did that put them?
Where did that put them?
Yeah.
That put them third.
Okay, that's not bad.
As Montreal got 1 extra sack and BC got 2 extra sacks. So that put them third, but like just barely. You know what I mean? Like within the range of it really doesn't change anything at that point. Their rush defense was very good. It was they gave up the fewest rushing yards per game at 76. And so they had done extremely well in that regard. But then if we're taking a look here, like I'd say that in general, just their D-line had done very, very well last year. This upcoming year, I expect them to do very good. I'm just curious to see, like, how much they've maybe potentially taken a hit in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say like their whole defense.
Yeah. Well,
because
actually,
I'm not gonna lie.
Speaking of which, should we get to the linebackers with that comment?
Yes, sir.
So for the linebackers for Saskatchewan, there definitely has been some change from last year. If we're looking at kind of the starting 3 that I'm seeing here, although
completely change,
it looks we're looking at some pretty big differences here. I see they have Woods here on CJMEs, and I don't see so they got Josh Woods, Jameer Thurman, and then they have Brooks, who I'm assuming is a DB. That
was the Reeves spot.
But that was like Anton Brooks Jr., right? Because the big 2 losses here were CJ Reeves and of course AJ Allen. They were able to hold on to Thurman, but they lost a lot of really nice pieces there. And not that that Woods and Brooks aren't able to be good pieces. They certainly are. It's just the value of what they lost, I can't imagine is made up completely here. And so that was probably, I'd say over the course of their lineup, that it probably takes the biggest hit. Would you say so? Their linebackers, the loss of CJ Reeves and AJ Allen. I think that's probably the biggest hit on the lineup. Not that this new group is incapable. I think there certainly is some capabilities there, but definitely have been hit from that. Which brings us to the secondary, which needs no introduction. Marcus Sales, Roland Milligan Jr., Lacombo, Fields, and Campbell. They all did very well in the pass defense. So, yes?
I will say, Axemi is still here.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember, do you?
I don't.
Do you not remember that one Saskatchewan Roughriders game? Or, sorry, Saskatchewan and Montreal game where the guy got beat like 3 times?
That's why he's not a starter.
So why he's third string?
This is why he's third string. That's right. But if we're looking at actually the yards per game, the funny thing is that it actually shows for last year's Rider defense. They gave up 266, which was third most given up in the league, which is kind of surprising just because their reputation was that they had done relatively well. I'm not saying that they wouldn't do well, but that's just that they'd given up a bit. So not as invincible as other aspects of their game, but certainly was good enough for them to win themselves a Grey Cup. So we will have to see how they perform, especially with the changes made at the linebacker position. Which brings us to their special teams. Definitely some changes here. As, of course, the big one, Brett Lothar is out, and Hale is going to be in as their kicker. So this is going to be a new face in the CFL, making their full season debut. So we will have to see how their consistency is. Not really much to base it off of. Chapman is their punter. I believe that is also a new face. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes.
They got Crawford at long snapper, and then Letcher will be their returner as Super Mario went over to Hamilton before being released. So is it possible Super Mario could end up back in Saskatchewan? The big question, if they have the cap space, which I don't think they do, but they might go over the cap slightly if they think it's worth it, if Letcher's not working out, if someone gets hurt, whatever it is. It's an open possibility now that Hamilton got Isaiah Wooden back and Super Mario got cut and is a free agent. Which then means, Rick, we have to rank this team.
Yes.
In the West. So I think for starters, the highest I think we'll both agree is first. This team could come first in the West.
Yes.
The big question is their worst case scenario second or is it third? I personally would say third, and the only reason I'd say third is if they run into injury trouble. Injury trouble could drop them as low as third. Worst case scenario.
Here's my question. People are going to call me crazy. If, for example, Harris gets injured. Let's say he's out for the rest of the season, and he goes out in game 2. Are you confident enough that your quarterbacks can get you to the playoffs and win?
McLeod Bethel Thompson, we have a contract for him. Kidding. I think they give Jack Cohen as well as Shager a try. I think their passing games get severely, cuffed there. My guess is that they would. My guess is that they would give Cohen as well as Shager a try, and if it's really not working out, they would do something. And when I say they would do something, I mean they would try to get a quarterback from somewhere else and potentially overpay like crazy to make it happen.
Okay, so you definitely do not see them finish, worst case scenario, fourth if Harris goes down.
No, I don't see them finishing third. I don't see them finishing fourth because I think if they get that desperate, I think Saskatchewan will make a move to at least keep them at third. I don't see them dropping as low as fourth no matter who gets hurt.
Okay, so if you have
as much as I'd like it as a Bomber fan.
So if you had them third, do you think the loss of some of their players could potentially have them not making the Final Four?
Like, do I think it could have them...
So say, for example, they finish third. They're on the road. Do you think with all the, I mean, they haven't had that many losses, but with that being said, because you also forgot Meyer's not back too, he's in the NFL. But with the roster that they have, do you think that they could make a Final Four in the CFL playoffs this year?
I think
If they
can.
finish third. If they finish third.
I think they can. I think it's possible. I wouldn't say likely or unlikely. I would say like it's I don't know, too many factors. I'd say it is possible.
That means that Carter's saying that either the Lions or the Bombers could be out in the first round. Without actually saying it.
Or Saskatchewan. I didn't say that they'd meet the Final Four. I said they could make the Final Four. It was very clear.
Apples and oranges.
What's with you with like comparing like fruits and vegetables in this video? Anyway, so my personally looking at this, trying to be as unbiased as possible as a Bomber fan, I'd like to see them finish 9th in the CFL, but I know realistically that's probably not happening. And so I think this team realistically in the West, at best case scenario for them, they finish 1 at first. Worst case scenario, I see them potentially going 3rd. So that's what I see. You're 1 and 4. Is that what you said, or 1 and 3?
I was contemplating 3. Or sorry, 1 and 4. But I'll go 1 and 3 because I do not.
Well,
even though we still have, hold on, because if once we do Winnipeg, I do not see a West crossover this year.
I think it's possible. It depends on you know what's going to be the freaking wild card when it comes to a crossover? Toronto. Toronto is 100% what is like. However good or not good Toronto does is the Toronto is the determining factor. Do we get a crossover or not?
The interesting thing is, could we not see an East crossover?
No.
What do you mean no?
Not this year. No.
Don't tell me no.
I'll tell you no.
Because I can tell you, Toronto and Ottawa have a better offense than Calgary and Edmonton do. Yeah,
but sure, you can beat Edmonton and Calgary, but you still have to beat either BC, Winnipeg, or Saskatchewan.
No, I'm not. No. That's not what I'm talking about.
For a crossover. For an East crossover to the West, yes, you do. If an East crossover is to the West, that means that that one of BC, Winnipeg, or Saskatchewan has to miss the playoffs. And that's not happening. No.
I'm telling you right now, not every West quarterback is going to stay healthy for the rest of the year. I'm telling you that right now.
I agree with that.
So one of those top 3 teams is going to drop.
Except maybe they don't.
Well, Bryce ain't going to take it to the promised land, my friends.
I didn't say that Chase Bryce was. Salter, baby. Anyways, shall we get on to the next team?
Yes. The last team.
Not the last team. The last team of this recording until we record more.
Yes, you know what I mean.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers! It's Bomber football coming back. Oh, did Rick go? Oh, is he doing what I think he's doing? Is he putting him?
We will soon find out.
Is he redeeming himself? Is he redeeming himself? Oh. Hold on a second. Oh. Hey! Rick, you're back to the land of God. Thank you. And we need to.
Dream.
We need, yeah. Winnipeg Blue Bombers football, and we got ourselves our depth chart again. Reminder to those who haven't, make sure you guys join our Discord because all the depth charts we are referencing are in that Discord, so you can follow along and also chat CFL with all of us idiots. So please join up. Winnipeg Blue Bomber football. And yeah, so we have a depth chart here.
So-
This is, again, a fan-made depth chart courtesy of
To
Bombers
explain
Junkies.
this further,
Rick, Bombers Junkies, that guy on Twitter or X or whatever?
he's actually on the CFL forums.
Lovely.
So, to put this out there, because I asked him about this, the highlighted names are non-incompetents or players whose spots were contested in the lineup.
I see. So that's where it's like a not designated starter.
Pretty much.
Fair enough. Which means, shall we start, Rick, with the quarterback?
We shall. We shall.
So, Zach Collaros, two-time Grey Cup champion, 5 consecutive Grey Cup appearances until last year where they did not. I'm a big fan of Zach Collaros. I still am. I call me delusional. I still think Zach's got it.
Delusional.
See, you just were like, I have the opportunity to call him delusional, so I'm gonna call him delusional no matter what.
Well,
he says.
Alger's must too green, so you got to be delusional.
I wasn't talking about Algersma. I said Zach Collaros. You need to get your ears checked.
I said you are delusional because you think that Zach Collaros is the next big thing.
I didn't say it was the next
and
big
I'm
thing.
saying...
I didn't say it was the next big thing.
Okay, well, still, you get my point.
I'm not saying that he's the number 1 quarterback in the league. But this idea that he has nothing he can provide of value, as some have suggested, and that he cannot be a decent quarterback in this league, I reject that notion. Because a few things. Zach Collaros this year over last year has a better offensive line. He has better receivers to go through. The amount of times I saw Zach Collaros hit a guy in the chest. And they dropped it.
Let's just say you have one better offensive lineman. Because the other 4 were on the team last year.
Yes. Yep, I'll give you that. But the one is on the end. And when you cover your ends, it's a very important position on the offensive line, keeping your sides open.
No. What I was saying about Collaros is, again, one of these West team quarterbacks is going to be injured. And I'm going to use your quote, is Algersma is very green.
He is very green. This is true. He's very new.
So,
I will say he looked a lot better in the second preseason game than the first. I will give him a bit of credit there. Not saying that he is instant backup ready material. Not saying that. I am saying if you only watched preseason game 1 with Algersma, you're not seeing the full picture. I can
say the same thing about Trey Ford when he went 2 for 10 in the first preseason game.
Then go nuts. Say whatever you want about Trey Ford. I don't know. You can make your fucking fruits and vegetables comparison that you've been making all night if you really want to. Tomato, potato, carrots, peas, and whatever he's talking about. Zach Collaros.
I can just see it now. I can just see it now. Everyone's like, you guys are making me hungry.
We're going to get some comments being like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You know, it's funny. It's because we have the chapters for these videos. So some people will have skipped to the Bombers section, heard me say that, and then be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Not knowing all the context from earlier. Anyways, Zach Collaros, still a great quarterback in this league. Last year threw for 3,048 passing yards on 13 games played. He did spend a little bit of time injured. 17 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So ideally hoping for a little bit of a larger spread. Maybe something more like his 2023 year, just 2 years back. But the main thing, of course, is going to be keeping him healthy. And thankfully, the Bombers have at least spent some money into hoping that they have a better chance of doing that. Now, where there's some big changes at the quarterback position for Winnipeg is once you get behind Collaros. So gone is Strevler and Terry Wilson, and in is Taylor Elgersma as well as Bryce Perkins. And I gotta say, I don't mind this. I think this QB room is a little bit underrated in the sense of I understand that Elgersma. I don't know if I'd go as far as saying he is a ready backup at this point. Not that I don't think he certainly can be this year. I think it is possible. He has shown that he can develop relatively fast, and we'll have to see if he does get thrown into that game situation, how he handles himself. As I think his best time in the preseason was against a starting BC Lions defense. Again, like BC was playing almost all their starters in that defense, and he did relatively well. And he went for 2 deep ball passes, and the only reason that those were incomplete was because it hit guys right in the hands, less than a foot from their chest, and fell straight on the ground. If that's Ontario Wilson, if that's Nick Dembski, they make that catch every day of the week. I'd say Tim White, but I know Rick would be like, actually, Tim White's dropped a lot of fucking balls already. And so
Dubsies.
He better, butterfingers. But Tim White joins the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as well. But we'll get to that when we talk about the receivers. I got a little ahead of myself there for a second.
Yes.
And then, but of course, that is what we're looking at in the QB room. All right. Shall we talk about the running backs? Rick?
Sure.
Brady Oliveira! It's Brady Oliveira. He needs no introduction. They got Matthew Peterson on the practice roster, but Brady's the man. Brady is the goddamn man, and I don't care what anyone says. Am I a biased Bomber fan? You're goddamn right I am, and I will own that shit. I will. Brady Oliveira, though, seriously, honest to God, fantastic running back. This guy has been incredibly productive, whether he has had a great offensive line in front of him or whether he has had an offensive line that struggled last year, had an offensive line that struggled. And if we take a look into his stats here, he's still got 1,163 rushing yards for 3 touchdowns. And again, with touchdowns, I don't hold on to it too much with touchdowns when it comes to running backs, because how many times will you see a running back get them to like the 2-yard line and then they'll go to short yardage and the QB will get the rushing touchdown? You know what I mean, Rick?
True.
Like I don't hold a lot of weight on a touchdown stat for running backs, but for rushing yards did very well. 5.8 yards per carry, which was second best in his career, just behind his 2023 numbers where he was 5.9. So did very, very well. Last year had his longest rush ever with a 43-yard rush. Brady Oliveira still got it. He's was about 200 yards shy of what he got in 2024, but he also had 2 less games played. Only played 15 games last year. I expect another at least 1,000-yard rushing season out of Brady Oliveira, and I am excited to see what we could potentially get from Brady Oliveira. He's fantastic. Michael Chrisite, good piece at the fullback, good lead blocker when it needs to be. And yeah, which will bring us to the offensive line. Now, this is where shit gets interesting, because the Bombers, again, the only piece on the offensive line that was not a part of the Bombers organization last year was Jarrell Broxton. Huge signing for the BC Lions over to Winnipeg, and a really, really big, much needed improvement to that offensive line. Now, the rest of the O-line, a lot of it was already there. However, we are going to see a bit of personnel change. Stanley Bryant stays at the right side tackle, but then in the center, Colin Kowski is out and Eli goes in. If you guys remember, Eli was the offensive lineman who played a play as a tight end last year against the BC Lions, scoring himself a receiving touchdown. He's going to be the starting center this year for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, most likely, with Vibert as his backup. At the right side guard, it's going to be Patton Neufeld, sticking around, getting kind of up there in age, and so I'm hoping that he can have a decent season. We will have to see. On the left side, Gabe Wallace. That was a name that I sometimes worried about at times, just because I just felt like had a little bit of struggles. I actually didn't mind Vanderpool in that spot, but I understand for ratio reasons, Wallace has got to go in. But I have seen some improvement with him, so I'm hoping it's enough to be a solid performance. I also think playing next to Jarrell Broxton has the opportunity to improve him as a lineman. So I have hopes for this offensive line. I don't expect the best offensive line in the CFL, but I'm expecting definitely an improvement over last year. So here's to hoping. Which brings us to the receivers. We got, of course, Ontario Wilson, who last year came back from the NFL and immediately made an impact. In my opinion, the big debate was either him or Joe. I think he personally made a bit of a bigger impact than he did. But with Ontario Wilson, just want to pull this up just so we have the numbers here. Ontario Wilson had signed last year, going into he had signed for the remaining part of last year as well as this year, and then actually has already signed a 2-year extension. So the Bombers will have him for 2026, 2027, and 2028. So he's going to be around for a while. Ontario Wilson last year, 382 receiving yards in just 6 games. Despite the fact that, again, his first season over 1,000 receiving yards, his average actually last year was higher because, again, he only played that later half of the season with 18.2 yards on average per carry, 3 touchdowns, which was exactly the same as he got in a full season prior to that. And his longest catch was the longest of his CFL career last year, 56 receiving yards. I expect that we're going to see probably Ontario Wilson's best season yet, as I think he'll be able to hit 1,100 receiving yards. I think he is capable of that. I think he will be probably the Bombers' number 1 deep ball threat on this lineup. Which then brings us over to Nick Dembski. For Nick Dembski, Dembski is a receiver that's just past 30, 32 years old. Of course, Winnipeg native, just like Brady Oliveira. Born and raised, 2 Oak Park boys. Nick Dembski last year just barely hit the 1,000-yard mark with 1,001 receiving yards on 16 games played. The only thing I will say is a caveat for Ontario Wilson, because I did remember, he may not hit that mark that I mentioned if he gets injured partway through. Just important to note. With Nick Dembski, had a pretty good year last year, 1,001 yards in 16 games played, got himself 7 touchdowns with an average of 14.9 yards per carry, which was second best in his career, with his second longest receiving reception for 73 yards. His longest was 82 in 2019. So Nick Dembski, another lethal piece. But Tim White is going to be making his debut in the blue and gold as he comes over from Hamilton. And Rick, you're a Ticats fan. I got to ask you, thoughts on Tim White, positive and negative?
I mean, I could see him as a possible 2 for you guys. Between him and Dembski. Because you got to remember, Zach Claris does have history with Tim White.
Yeah.
The other thing is his drops. I don't care what anyone says, he did drop the ball. The other thing that I will throw out there that I don't know if you did mention or not is I'm curious to see how well you guys will do with your offense. Now that we're not doing any vanilla offense in preseason anymore.
So, Jason Hogan is gone as a Bomber fan.
Carter's like, yes.
Very happy. However, the Bombers decided we're going to try something a little interesting when it comes to offensive coordinator. I don't hate it. Rick is not a fan of it.
I love it because then it's your guys' problem. It's a you problem, not an issue.
I'm cautious. Because at the end of the day, if it's an improvement over Jason Hogan, it's an improvement over Jason Hogan. I'm worried it may potentially have problems of its own. My number one concern is that he's a very passing-based offensive coordinator. And we have this guy named Brady Oliveira who should really fucking run here and there. And so I am hoping that the good news is that Tommy Condell, offensive coordinator for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, has never had a Brady Oliveira. He has not. He's had some decent running backs before. I think this is personally probably the best running back he has had on a lineup he's coached in the CFL, especially in at least the last few years. So I would like to believe that when you get access to a running back like that, it makes you want to run the ball a bit more than you normally would, or at least have in the past. But coaches' tendencies are coaches' tendencies. We're going to have to see how Tommy Condell decides to play his playbook. That will be a big question for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Going on to the defensive side of things, looking at that D-line, the defensive end spot on the opposite side of Jefferson is really up in the air. I'm not sure who they're going to put there. Deshaun Dixon, Mounier, Bailey, Gatkuth, all guys that could potentially be in that spot. I wouldn't be surprised if even Jenkins swung over on the other side. He had some good looks in the preseason, but Willie Jefferson will at least be one of the defensive ends. And then at nose tackle, most likely going to be Jake Serezna. And then also at D tackle, going to be Cam Lawson and potentially Tanner Schmeckel. But I believe he is on the 6-game injured list for now. Jake Serezna, yes. Of course, big signing from over in Edmonton. The offensive lineman, of course, being Gerald Broxton. I was expecting a big name offensive lineman signing. Defensive line, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if the Bombers would splash, and they did. They get Serezna. Big add to that defensive line. Really hoping for some good production out of Jake Serezna. Really liked what I saw from him in Edmonton, but then especially in Toronto that season prior. But solid defensive line brings us over to the linebackers. At the middle linebacker, you got Tony Jones, flanked to the weak side by Wilson. And then on the Sam, you got Griffin. Although I will say, I actually
probably would put Cramdy there and Allen
I would have
free
put
safety.
Retta Cramdy there, and I would have put Cam Allen as my starting safety. As I think Cam Allen is way too damn low on that list. As him at fifth string to me is just redonkulous. But redonkulous. However, that's just me. I am a Cam Allen fan. I like me some Cam Allen. And then if we look towards the secondary, though, at corner, you got Williams. On the other side, you got Jonathan Moxey, who comes over from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Rick, he's a former Ticat. I got to know your thoughts on him, Jonathan Moxey. Positive and negative.
I would say he's out of your 5 secondary. I'd say he's a top 4.
Okay,
he's not worse than Williams.
So you're saying he's not the worst. Okay.
No, he's not the worst.
And then, I think that's a fair ranking because, to be fair, I think you have a pretty good three.
He's still gonna get his interceptions.
Yep.
If he can, he'll still get his tackles.
To be fair, I think that's because the other 3 are pretty darn good. Dietrich Nichols had done very, very well at halfback, as well as Evan Holm, who I think Evan Holm is the star of that secondary, with Retta Cramdy being a really good fit at free safety, even though I do think that him at strong side linebacker also works really, really well. Jordan Younger has been willing to move him around a bit in the defense. So.
Yeah, I would, just with me, it's going to be interesting this year because I thought that we were going to do 2 rookies in the secondary because we lost both Moxie and Amos. But we're not. And you'll have to wait to see what we did.
That's right.
When we talk about the Ticats.
That's right. Which brings us to our special teams. At kicker, we have Sergio Castillo. Probably the best deep ball kicker specifically in the CFL. When it comes to deep ball, this guy hits 60-yarders like it's nothing. So, got to have Castillo in there. Love to see him return. Just behind him, Jamison Sheehan, who wasn't crazy about his first year as a Bomber, but I've really grown to love Jamison Sheehan as a punter. Has really, really refined his craft and has just become a really fantastic punter for the Bombers. LaRue, solid long snapper for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And then last year's Rookie of the Year, as CFL Rookie of the Year, as well as CFL Special Teams Player of the Year, Trey Vavel is going to be the kick/punt returner for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with your offensive coordinator being Tommy Condell, your defensive coordinator being Jordan Younger, and Mike O'Shea had re-signed in Winnipeg and is sticking around for another 3 years as the team's head coach. So, Rick, where do you rank the Bombers? What is their best case scenario? What is their worst case scenario? I have an idea, but I want to know yours first.
So, I'm going to do mine differently. I am going to say Edmonton will be
Do you want to know what mine is?
So Edmonton's going to be 5th.
Okay, Edmonton at 5.
Calgary's 4.
Okay.
I'm going to say Winnipeg will be 3rd at 9-9.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say BC will finish 1st with Saskatchewan finishing 2nd.
And then Saskatchewan finishing 2nd. Okay. That's fair. Do you want to know what my prediction was for the Bombers when it comes to best case scenario, worst case scenario? Best case scenario, Winnipeg finishes 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd go as high as 1st unless they really maybe get a little lucky with some injuries on some other teams, but then also really almost overperform. Worst case scenario, I don't see them dropping any lower than 4. 4 is I think, because 4 is where they finished last year with a crossover. I could see Winnipeg finishing 4 with a crossover again. I think 3 is the most likely landing spot for Winnipeg.
So my thing with 1st and 2nd this year for the West is going to be a tiebreaker. They're both going to finish with the same record, and it will be a tiebreaker that settles it.
That's going to be one hell of a thing if you actually are right on that. But
I don't know what the record's going to be. It's just going to be a tiebreaker because BC, no offense to Winnipeg, but BC and Saskatchewan are going to be, because Saskatchewan has the defense, but BC has freaking Rorik. But I don't want Rorik to win MOP this year, but I can't help but to pick them to finish in the top 2. So it's just hopefully he gets injured.
Yeah.
So that we can finally win our MOP.
Yeah. But I think that's all we got for this one. So shall we get on to the next one?
Sure, let's go.
So that brings us to the Ticats, Rick. Shall I let you take it away as the channel's resident Ticat fan?
But Chet, I feel so honored now. Now I had to get all that dirt off my chest, and I got the proper jersey on now.
Hey, you had the dirt on the chest was what you had on beforehand. Was that ugly green?
The dirt on the chest was all three of them that I had on before.
Yeah, it was so green I thought I'd run my lawnmower over it. Anyways, it's a terrible joke.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with the same order that we've done in all the other teams, and we're gonna start with Bo Levi Mitchell.
Quarterbacks.
Now I'm gonna have to go from the Ticats because I've dirtied up the sheet with my thoughts on practice roster and whatnot. So we have Bo Levi Mitchell, who had an outstanding season last year.
Nearly won himself MOP. Just got beat by
I'm telling you right now, I don't give two shits what anyone says. If Bo puts up another year like he did last year, and he does not win,
and the year prior,
pardon my French, this league is fucking rigged. Because there's no way that you go have those three kind of seasons and you don't win. Okay, I'll give Brady Oliveira the benefit of doubt 2 years ago.
Well, because he's a running back, and that's one where it's like it is fucking hard to get there as a running back. The one against,
but
I remember the one against. I remember the one against Rourke though, where you're like, no. If this guy wins, it's just because he's Canadian. There's nothing else to it.
So if you really want me to pull strings, you don't win MLP unless you're Canadian. Facts are facts. The last two have been Canadian. You're trying to tell me, like 2 years ago when Brady won, everyone's like, oh well, he didn't win it because of he wasn't in the playoffs. Okay. We go win the playoffs last year. We go make playoffs. Still don't win it. The awards are not based on if you win the Grey Cup or not. It's basically season awards.
Yeah.
So you're basically telling me this guy needs to throw 40 touchdowns, if not more, less interceptions, and throw for 60,000 yards. Is basically what the world's trying to tell us.
What the world is trying to tell us.
I'm telling everyone, when Bo throws for another 6,000 yards, everyone can kiss my behind because Bo's friggin' winning it this year. End of story. Carter's like, I don't want to kiss your butt.
I'm like, Rick, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Listen, Vince McMahon had a kiss your
I was about to say, I'm not joining the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Was just Trey Ford looked amazing last week versus Toronto. Dolegala had a better, not good, but better week. So it would not surprise me if Trey Ford, you saw like one or two plays here or there. Just for shits and giggles.
Just for shits and giggles. Just for the love of the game.
Yep. So for running backs, we have Larry Roundtree III, who was a former running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. Johnny Augustine will be the second running back, as Milinovic Litre will be a fullback on the depth chart. Biggs is on the practice roster, so, I mean, whenever he makes the team, he makes the team. If we go to wide receivers, we are one of the top wide receiver groups. Curly Gittens Jr., potential 1,000-yard season. Shamar Bridges, now that they've moved him to the inside, another 700, 800, maybe 900-yard season. Lawler, we already know what Lawler can do. Lawler's, I would say, is probably getting around
he's the best
1,100. Yeah, like hands down. I mean, we're paying him $1 million over 3 years for nothing.
Yeah.
Tyson Middlemose is basically a special teams body. Myron Mitchell will probably play this week if Shamar Bridges is a no-go. Keandre Smith basically filled Tim White's spot at the slot back. He has another potential season to go 1,000 yards. Tyler Turnowski is a backup / special teams player. And then basically Wheatfall is where Shamar Bridges was last season with that. Oh, what are they classified as? It is the field side wide receiver.
Yes.
And then of course Isaiah Wooden is back for return.
Now,
duties.
one thing I want to say, just because I was kind of like just letting you go through a lot of this. For starters, besides the fact that the Hamilton Tie Bombers are going strong with bringing in Kolinkowski and Party and everyone that's all over there, I was surprised that in free agency they were able to get Gittins Jr. Some of the stuff like grabbing Wheatfall didn't shock me. Locking down some of the guys that you already had. But the one that kind of caught me off guard that I really wasn't expecting is I wasn't sure if you guys would be able to keep Shamar Bridges, and I was not expecting that you guys were going to get Curly Gittins Jr. Well.
It's funny because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they both signed within like a day of each other.
Gittins Jr. and Bridges?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gittins Jr. signs, and then at that point, then all of us were, because I remember me and you, Rick, we were talking about this, and then we were like, oh yeah, so Bridges is gone then, right? Because Curly Gittins Jr. sticks around, so Bridges, surely he's gone and goes and best of luck on his
hours
future
later.
endeavors. And then freaking within like 12 hours, he's already locked down, and I'm like, okay, well, I have no idea what kind of field time he's going to get, but he's sticking around in Hamilton.
I mean, the way that Milanovic has said is I want to say probably top 3 players, wide receivers, will get their yards, and then everyone else will get theirs. So it would not surprise me if you see both, like outside of Keandre and Lawler, if both spread the ball around.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Well, and I think that'll work out well. I think the big question mark for me is at that running back spot. Not that Roundtree's not capable, but it's just that I need more. I need to see more to have a better idea.
All I care about is if we can get 7-8 yards per run, or at least every other run, I'm happy.
7-8 is like fantastic.
But you know what I mean. Like
the threshold is 5. 5 is the threshold. You want to be above 5. 8-7 is like
we always get
fantastic.
stuffed, or we get like 2. No.
Yeah, no. 2 is not what we're looking for.
So then we're gonna go on to your favorite position. We got the offensive lineman.
Oh yeah, big boys out front in the trenches.
Quentin Burrow is back. He played the right tackle last year. Jonathan Dennis, he's currently injured. He was our first round draft pick. You can see him on crutches. Liam Dobson is our right guard. Nathaniel Dublin-Dugay probably. What's that?
I said from Texas State. He's a big boy. He was our first round draft pick over here in Winnipeg. Dobson.
Is that Dobson?
Dobson was, yeah.
Oh, okay. Nathaniel Dublin-Dugay, I would say, is probably your backup guard / center. Husseini's on the injured list. And then when I went to training camp, Carter did not pre-warn me. When I see Chris Kolinkowski You're just gonna say this big.
He's a big
beer
man
gut.
with a big belly.
And
That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
honestly surprised
Kolinkowski
he's
straight up.
skinnier.
Kolinkowski straight up does media shirtless.
Like he is skinnier than Dobson and Barrow.
Kolinkowski?
Yeah,
Hey, man, leaned up. What can you say?
but you don't see all the other ones with a big beer gut hanging out, friggin' half the shirt just above his stomach, and he's just walking
When
around.
you're a pro football player, you can do that.
So he's our natural center. Trevor Reed, apparently had an outstanding rookie season back in 2 years ago. Because then he went to go have a tryout for the the NFL. We have Revenberg, which is the left guard, and then Braden Swartout and the other Braden Seisman and Jacob Zott are all practice roster people.
Yeah. Which means, Rick, where shall we go next?
We only
To the
go up, my
defense?
friend, and that is the defensive line.
So, I'm gonna let you keep going. You're going on a roll. This is your team.
So Mitchell Agudi, 27, he made it out of training camp. I think he is the third weak side defensive end. You have Isaiah Begna, who's in front of him on that side. Benton is on the injury reserve list. Carbell Dabry is the backup nose tackle. We have Miles Fox, who is the starting position at nose tackle. Or he can play defensive end. He can switch spots. Tyjon Garbett is on the injured reserve list. Julian Hauser is the left side defensive end. Owen Hubert had a really good training camp, so he's on the main squad, helping out with special teams. Mario Kendrick is the other starter beside Miles Fox. And then Amari Notice is on the practice squad. Philip Osai is the field side defensive end. And then you have Brian. And then Brian Yugawu. He is also on the practice squad. Oh, I forgot to mention Max Mang, who is our what do you call it? Import player from last year. So we brought him over. And then 6'6", 263, he's a big boy. And then we also have Daniel Bell as our other fullback. Max Mang is basically your tight end.
Oh, you forgot to talk about your fullbacks.
Giovanni Robinson, who is our tight end last year, is now on the practice squad. Jalen Gill also did well. I was trying to think. If we go to line...
Before you get back to
Backers.
linebackers,
Yes.
mind if I just talk about the D-line a bit? Because
Sure.
I will say with the Ticat D-line, generally they had done okay, but there's a glaring issue that they need to resolve for this year, in my opinion, if you're the Ticats. Because the pass defense, they were okay. They were exactly in the middle. 265 passing yards given up per game. That's right, fifth in the league, average. Rick, I think you know where I'm going with this. The Ticats, if they want to have a better shot against some teams, specifically some teams out west, because some teams out west have some good running backs, they got to figure out how to stop that running game. Ticats were dead last in rush defense as they gave up 111 yards per game on average in rushing yards specifically. So that's where if I'm the Ticats, if I'm the D-line coach, that's my focus. Is figuring out, like, okay, how are we going to read these plays? You know what I mean? How are we going to have our linebackers set up so that way when a hole opens up, they're not backing off and just giving up all that room, and they're filling that hole and stopping the run game dead at the line of scrimmage. So I think that needs to be a priority for the Ticats. Continue.
So we have Ryan Baker, who is the backup middle linebacker. Jordan Crook, who is the third line weak side linebacker. Loic Gagnon is the backup will linebacker. Braxton Hill, who joined as a rookie last year. He had something ridiculous, like 60 tackles or something like that. And the king of the defense in the front seven, of course, can't go on without mentioning Wynton McManus. And then we have Craig Young, who is, I think, the third string linebacker or middle linebacker.
Is he on the practice roster?
Craig Young is. Yes, he's on the practice roster. I'm just saying, like, if he goes in, if he was to dress, he would be the third linebacker. And then the other spot that I would say that likes to ball out, as the saying goes, is our sexy secondary. Hey, listen, we had the most interceptions last year.
I know, I just wasn't ready for that.
Oh.
The sexy secondary. That's a new one.
I mean, Cachatonis, Peters, Talbert is going to anchor the left to the middle. And then you'll have Devin Cornwall, who is currently still injured. Caleb Hayes, Robert Panabaker, who's done well. Reggie Stubblefield, who will play Sam linebacker. And then Quavian Wright, who will take Amos' spot from last year. We also have Devdrick Bynum, who we just signed after Calgary released him. So it would not surprise me if he is starting in that spot. Renan Horal, 23. He's already been in the league 1 or 2 years. He would be backup safety behind Cachatonis. Jake Nikchuoric, definitely butchered Jake's last name. He's another special teams person. Zamari Walton, now I thought for sure he'd be coming in for the Jonathan Moxey spot in the secondary, but of course he got beat out. So it is what it is. And then of course we got Mark Leggio, Gordon White. Mitch McCarthy is the starting punter. And then Mitch McCarthy, is the starting punter. And then Nick Haber is actually going on the practice squad. And then,
then,
of course, we still have Gordon White and Mark Leggio.
And your returner being Isaiah Wooden.
Yes, sir.
So, honest to God, really, really, really stellar lineup for the Ticats here, all included. Again, they had lost. If we're looking here, there were some movements that had gone around. They had lost Amos at the secondary, but then they kind of make that up with McManus at linebacker. Able to hold on to a lot of talent. Obviously, Isaiah Wooden as well as Nick Constantinu up to the NFL. Isaiah Wooden comes back and is back in the lineup. We'll have to eventually see if Constantinu ever makes his way back to the CFL, back to the Ticats. It's a little bit different with kickers and punters and whatnot, but overall, really solid.
And there's one other person that we're missing that's in the NFL. Devin Verasek.
Yeah. But honest to God, all in all, really, really solid lineup here for the Ticats. Had a big step up last year, getting themselves first in the East. Unfortunately, they were not able to get to the Grey Cup with the East final, but you got to imagine that is going to be the goal here for the Ticats. Get to the Grey Cup in Calgary. So, Rick.
Yes.
Rankings of this team in the East.
1 or 2.
I see no way that this team drops below second place. In the East, in the sense of Toronto is too... Toronto's too risky of a move just because Toronto was really bad last year. I know they have Chad Kelly back now, but I thought Arbuckle looked pretty solid last year, so I don't think just quarterback was the cause of that issue. I think the Argos might have a step up over where they were, but I don't see it being a huge step up. The Redblacks, serious potential to potentially move up, but again, it's just, we've heard that before. So we'll have to see. The Alouettes, slight regression from where they are, but should be enough to still do relatively decent. The Ticats look to haven't missed a step. And anything that they've lost, they've made up somewhere else. And so I think the Ticats are coming first or second. But shall we get to the next one there, Rick?
We shall.
All right. Which will mean... the Toronto Argonauts.
Yes.
Now we are over in Toronto, and thankfully this is another one we have a depth chart to. Also appreciate, thank you, Rick, for the Ticat depth chart provided by yourself, just because I know you follow. And so big thanks to X's and O's for X's and Argos for posting their Argos depth chart up, as that will help us go through it. So that brings us to probably the best QB depth in the league. I think the Ticats certainly look pretty good in the QB depth. They got Bo Levi Mitchell and then Trey Ford and then Jake Dolegala, and I even think that Dolegala is a solid piece at 3. Trey Ford's a serious backup, but Toronto takes the cake for the QB depth with the simple fact that Chad Kelly, as well as Nick Arbuckle, are both proven starters now. Whereas Trey Ford is a maybe starter now. In the future, definitely. Bo, obviously, is a starter. Fucking no question. But the combination of Kelly and Arbuckle they are both proven starters now, and they are both ready. Tucker Horn did decent for them as well in that third spot, which brings us to the running back and fullback situation. Rick, do you want to kind of give us a little bit of a peer into that, because the Argos running back situation these past few years has been just really strange.
So Jones and Hicks are Americans, I presume. Isaiah Smith is a prospect that they drafted second round in the CFL draft this year. So once again, Toronto's how do I put this? Toronto is now put their hands on running backs that don't have experience.
Damn.
At least last year you had McMahon, you had Mitchell, Kadeem Carey, and so forth.
Yeah, but interesting. A bit of an interesting move because again, looking at that running back situation, like the Argos have really been cycling through running backs really quickly, and so it's just a little bit odd as a lot of teams have kind of been able to hold on to their running backs a lot better than Toronto has. Which then brings us to the fullback side of things. Persalidis. I believe that's how you say his name. Persalidis is your backup to Kesar, which played linebacker and is now being moved to fullback.
It's funny because this is now the fourth person that they've tried at fullback. Because you had Cedric Hansen there. That didn't work out. They had someone else there before Jack Cassar. He didn't work out. So that's another one. And then they just had another one there. So it's like they're trying all these people in this position, and they don't need it because they have a fullback on the team.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a strange move, but that's what they've decided to go with. And then if we get to the offensive line,
yes,
very decent.
This is where I see the problem is.
Well, the problem is that I see a good interior line. It's the exterior. It's the tackles I'm unsure of. Because when I look here and I see Shepley's solid. Nick Castro, he's good. Ryan Hunter needs no explanation. Kemp and Blonde, I'm not sure about. And it's not because, again, they're like me saying they're not capable or they can't do it and there's no chance or whatever it is. It's just a bit of an unknown variable. And so I just don't have enough to go out and say, I have my confidence in these guys. I just don't know. And that's where I think some issues potentially could arise, especially when you're dealing with a situation where you're not having the most experienced running backs in the world. If your tackles are where you're struggling, first of all, you're not going to be able to get many outside runs. Unless, again, they're able to perform as really hoped. But if they get trapped, if they get contained by the bookends against whatever team they're against, that's going to be really tricky for this offense to produce. And that's where that is where, despite getting Chad Kelly back, I don't know if I have the confidence that gets the Argos out of the rut that they're in. Because the last season was absolutely a step back. And I would have a hard time believing that any Argo fan would disagree that last season was a step back.
So here's the thing. So looking at their practice squad, they only have 2 people on their practice squad from the offensive line. So if one gets injured during the game, you're going to have to pull someone off of the defensive line to play offensive line.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. I'm going to tell you right now. That is not good. But yeah, so it's a bit of a concern, I'd say. Now, that brings us to the receiver crew. Now, thankfully, this is an area for the Argos where they're looking pretty solid. Starting with a wide receiver on the far left side, Coxie, as well as at slot back, they got Mackay Polk. He had went up to the National Football League and came back down. I believe Polk, was it
Atlanta?
It was the Falcons. Yeah, that's right. Because I was trying to it wasn't the New York Jets, and then I'm like, no, that was Ontario Wilson with the New York Jets. That's what it was. On the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, they got Unger as well as Herslow and Matal. And so they got some decent pieces there. Again, provided Chad Kelly or Nick Arbuckle can get some proper protection, I could definitely see them being able to do something there. Again, just a little bit of concerns about the offense as a whole. So we will have to see in that.
Keep in mind with the whole Chad Kelly thing is, Toronto has a first week bye, which means they still have like an extra bit of rest. And also don't forget that the Chad Kelly only played like 9 reps.
And that's where
in that first preseason game.
It's been a while. Like you know what it is? It's like, is this gonna be like Ilya Kovalchuk returning to the NHL, where he's just like completely lost the sauce? Or is this gonna be like Gabriel Landeskog, who had like 2 years out and comes back and he's just hasn't missed a beat? And that's where we're just gonna have to see how this goes for Chad Kelly, as that's just that's something you can't predict, you know.
Sure.
Which then brings us to the defensive line.
Yes.
So, for starters, at defensive end on the right-hand side, they got Jonathan Kongbo. And then at D-tackle, they got Hendricks as well as Ralph Hawley, which that was a big pull to bring him back into Toronto. I know that was something that they must
As much as I hate to say this, being a Ticat fan, I have a Rich Hawley autograph of football.
Ooh.
Along with Chad Kelly.
Yes, because
we don't speak of that.
Because you met him at something. I can't remember what it was. What was it?
Yes, I did meet him at an event.
At an event. Nice. And then Hendricks as well as Chatfield. So, honestly, I see a pretty decent defensive line here for the Argos. Not the powerhouse they had years ago, but...
My big question with this defensive line is, a few years ago, Dwayne Hendricks' career has gone down the toilet. To me, he still isn't the same since he left BC. Also, we all know what we got with Kongbo. No comments. Carter knows the story. But to me, he hasn't been, like, he's more of a backup than he's a starter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how he's going to do.
Yeah. Well, and then that brings us to the linebackers, which I think is probably one of the highlights here for the Argos, as they got Judge over on the left-hand side there at the weak side linebacker. And then in the center, you got Isaac Darkangelo at middle linebacker. And then this was a signing that I remember Argo fans being very, very excited about. Darius Pickett comes in at the strong side linebacker. And so he will be a nice add to the defense for Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that before we move to the secondary?
No, sir.
As we move to the secondary, we have a few that we got to look through here. Franklin and then Priester over on the left-hand side there. Priester being a signing that we had actually covered. And I remember looking into that and thinking that
looking at this, McFadden and Franklin were both on the team last year. Amos came over from the Ticats, who he was already originally with the Argos. Mm-hmm. Sly Whitka was safety, and then Priester, I think, came over from Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And sorry, where did you say Sly Whitka came from?
Sly Whitka was starting safety last year.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then if we get to special teams, Guillemette was still the long snapper, Canadian long snapper for the Argos. Haggerty is their punter. And Lyram Haralahu is their kicker.
At least Carter can say that name.
I can. And Janarian Grant is going to be their returner for kick returns as well as punt returns. And so, yeah. All in all, I got to say the Argos have made some improvements. They've taken some hits in some areas. I don't know if it's enough. That's what I'm struggling with. The East, like the Alouettes, I don't know if they're as good as they were last year. But the Alouettes also they were still a very, very good team. They were able to drive all the way to the Grey Cup game. And Davis Alexander was just fantastic for them, obviously. The Redblacks have clearly made some big strides to try to push themselves forward. They've gotten some serious talent over there. The Ticats have essentially recycled through, in the sense of there were guys that were going to ask for some raises that they had to kind of move on from, guys that they signed to keep in, and generally anyone they lost, they were able to find some good replacements for. And so it was less of a shift up or down, but more of a shift laterally. With the Argos, it feels like one step forward here, complete step back in another area. And that's where the Argos, to me, are so hard to predict, because I'm tempted to say that this team finishes, I think best case scenario, they finish second. Best case scenario. And worst case scenario, they finish fourth. With the most likely outcome, I think I have to say it's in the third or fourth. And it's not because I think this team is a bad team, but because I don't see Ticats dropping out of 1 or 2. I'd be surprised if Ottawa doesn't snag at least third. And the Alouettes, I think, are in that second or third range. And so it's not that I think the Argos are bad. I don't think that. It's more of I view them a little bit as kind of the odd one out, where I'm just not sure what the direction is. If they're able to find that, then they certainly could make the playoffs. Again, we haven't even seen a game yet. But that's kind of my 2 cents here.
So a couple of things. Where I would say the question marks for me is no depth on offensive line.
Yeah, like that. Well, in Rick, you know how I've mentioned numerous times, games are won and lost in the trenches.
Yes.
The D-line looks okay. And when I say okay, I mean okay. And that's something where I need to see a little bit. This offensive line, I'm really unsure about. Because, that again, the interior pieces, I think, you have some solid... Like, this to me, like I'll give you actually a great example. This reminds me of where I thought the Redblacks offensive line was at one point. And I thought they had some really, really good pieces on the inside. Especially Drew Desjardins, who had went up, spent some time with the New England Patriots, and then found his way back down, back to the CFL. But it was one of those things, they were constantly getting beat wide, and so despite having this talent, whether it's running backs, whether it's quarterbacks, whatever it was, they just kind of were a little bit kind of just hogtied. They couldn't really do as much because they just couldn't get the protection that they needed, and I'm unsure of the level of protection that either Nick Arbuckle or Chad Kelly is going to get here, and what all they're going to be able to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't question their talent at receivers, though. I do think they have the receivers.
So, the other spot that I had questionable was running back.
Well, yeah.
So you're bringing in 3 new faces with no CFL experience.
That's where I think you're just... This is what happens kind of when you, because remember the old Argo mentality from when Kadeem Carey gets cut, though. What have you done for me recently, right? Wasn't that kind of the big thing, you know? What have you done for me recently? That's the mindset that cuts Kadeem Carey. And so then
I was going to say the other spots that I'm nervous for.
Actually, I have a question. Could you see them picking up Mark Mahan off the practice roster in Calgary?
Well, no, because they already had him. So, I mean, if they were going to keep him.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the first time a team's made a decision, cut a guy, and then we changed our mind. Blah blah blah. At the end of the day, money talks.
Here's the thing for me is, I like their veteran depth at the back seven, or sorry, the back eight. The only problem that I have with the back eight is, and when I'm talking back eight, I'm talking the three linebackers plus the secondary. Is, without me mentioning, do you see the problem here?
Problem where again? Sorry, I'm just taking a look.
The three linebacking positions and the secondary.
Not a lot of backups.
Not a lot of backups with CFL experience.
Yeah,
and I'm just pulling up
not much.
Toronto's roster here. And there was not hardly any. Like, I'm telling you, if there was a team that had a lot more changeover, and I thought we had a lot of changeover, it's going to be Toronto.
Yeah.
No more can you have Toronto having their defense put up 50 points, or let in offense put up 50 points on your defense anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was good to see that twice last year, but come on, like, they should have been embarrassed.
So at the end of the day, I gave kind of my rank roughly where I think the Argos are going to finish. What do you got? Where do the Argos finish on an optimistic year, and where do they finish on a pessimistic year?
Because of their weaknesses, I'm going to say best 3, worst 4.
That's fair. I you know what? I usually give a little bit more of a gap on mine. That's why I said 2 and 4. But I think they lean more towards the 3 and 4 side of things than they do 2. I think 2 is extremely optimistic because I think that assumes A, everything meshes together the way for Toronto, the way they're hoping, and B, also you're probably dealing with injuries in other teams in order for that to happen. So, but that's roughly kind of where I am. Now, are you ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. The Ottawa Redblacks going into this. So it's funny, we're recording this part of the video a little bit later, but with the Ottawa Redblacks, have had a lot of changeover since last year. I think we can agree with that, Rick. Is that right?
Yes and no.
I mean, to be fair, like as much as there's a lot of personnel that are still there, I think one of the biggest things for starters, they're going to be having a new starting quarterback. Drew Brown is still there. They have bumped up to the backup spot as Jake Mayer is now in. He will be the starter for the Ottawa Redblacks until Dinwiddie says otherwise. And that is your big change actually right there, is the guy at the helm is now Ryan Dinwiddie. There's a big change in terms of who is steering the ship, you know? And so the big question is going to be if the Ottawa Redblacks can get back to where they once were, however many years ago. But Jake Mayer gets the start. Drew Brown behind him. He's a very capable quarterback as well. But in Ottawa, they hadn't fully hit his stride. They'd kind of hoped for a little bit more. Didn't always get there. And then Duggan in there at short yardage. What is your thoughts, Rick, so far on kind of the situation with the quarterbacks in Ottawa?
Jake Mayer will be starter as long as he can take the team. The moment he struggles or gets injured, Drew Brown will be in. It's more of a 1A, 1B than it is like a...
Yep, I agree with that.
Like a starter.
A defined
like you have in backup. Winnipeg or Hamilton where you have that starter and then a backup. This is 1A and 1B.
Yeah. No, it is certainly that. As again, until Dinwiddie announced it, the assumption was going to be that Mayer was going in as a backup in a similar regard to almost the way, you remember when it looked like Edmonton was like, you know what, we're going to finally give Trey Ford the reins, but we're going to bring Cody Fajardo over here so that way if it goes belly up, we can fall back on that. I feel like that was kind of my impression of what Ottawa was doing here with Jake Maier before they decided to actually just straight up make him the starter. This will not be Jake Maier's first time being a starter. As Rick, you remember a couple years ago over in Calgary, Maier was the starter in Calgary after the departure of Bo Levi Mitchell. He was in Calgary from 2021 to 2024 with him. The issue of him being a starter in Calgary is that he threw good numbers in terms of passing yards, threw some decent numbers in terms of touchdowns. It was just that he'd be leading the league in passing yards, but then also they'd be throwing the ball like 50 times a game. Do you remember this, Rick? Where Calgary was throwing the ball to death when Jake Maier was their starting quarterback.
Yes.
That was a big issue for them. So having a competent running game, I think, is going to be very, very important to avoid the mistakes of old with Jake Maier. Not that he can't pass the ball. I'm not saying that. It's just that it was one of those things where when you were only passing the ball, you were making it really predictable from a defensive side of the ball, which just did not work to Jake Maier's benefit. And so this is where I'm curious to see how Dinwiddie decides to coach this group. Which brings us over to the running backs, Rick. As currently Greg Bell, so Greg Bell is their starter, but currently he is hurt. And what kind of injury was it again, Rick?
They say it was like a neck injury, and that he's only on like the one game. It's not like it's
some severe.
Yeah.
This isn't like Edge, like neck injury, WWE forced to retire sort of thing.
No.
This is okay.
No.
This is more of just kind of a minor neck injury, and so they're hoping that he'll be back in for
kind
week
of
2.
like
but
more like banged up than
a little bit.
Anything.
No, that's fair. Because I mean, if we take a look at Greg Bell and his performance last year, Greg Bell did very, very well in his last year in Hamilton. He was got 1,000 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, and he was an average of 5.6 per run, with the longest being a 30-yard run. Rick, you're a Ticats fan. You had him over in Hamilton. How was Greg Bell? The good, the bad, the ugly, all put together.
He can run, which is why he got 1,000 yards. But he can't block worth crap, and not even if his life depended on it. And I'm not the only one that says it. A lot of Red Black fans are saying it too.
Yeah. Well, and that'll be one of those things we will have to see if there is some change in that regard, or if that is something he does well at. But as of right now, it looks like, you're going to see him more in a running back role, not in a fullback role, if that makes sense. But behind him, he's got Adeboboye as well as Collins. With Collins in week 1 in their game against Edmonton, Collins will be getting the start. What are our thoughts on Collins, Rick?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because if I'm looking here,
I haven't seen him play not 1 second.
Yeah, because I'm trying to. I want to. Hold on a second. I want to get this pulled up because I want to. So this would be, Elijah Collins, who is 25 years old. He's a rookie. He'll be making his debut. Let me take a look at his past records. If we take a look, as that was Elijah Collins. As Elijah Collins, he had actually played for however many years with Michigan State, with the Spartans in FBS. And then in 2024 goes up to the Cincinnati Bengals after a really, really good year with Oklahoma State, in 2023, where, let's see here, he had gotten, so his average rushes were kind of roughly in the 4.5, 4.7, which for 4-down American football is relatively good. Again, for Canadian football, you're looking for a little bit higher than that. But his best year was probably, if we're taking a look here, one of his best years was probably 2022 with Michigan State, where he got 318 rushing yards on his 70 attempts. Although, funny enough, despite the fact that he had done well, he had never been a starter for Michigan State. He'd always been a backup, with the exception of his 2019 year there. But he had played 6 years of college football, and then made his way into pro, going with the Bengals. Was predominantly on the practice squad. Didn't see the light of day when it came to a regular season game. And now is over in Ottawa. So this is one of those things where you'll get guys that have come down to the CFL, that have come up to the CFL and done very, very well. Some guys that it's just not meshed. This is where the Canadian game, it's just fundamentally a little bit different. And so we will have to see where that connection is. But obviously Dinwiddie has some confidence in him, putting him as the starter in their first game. Adeboboye, we've seen what he can do. He's a solid piece there as well. Offensive line, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to go too much into this, as again, this is something where you kind of just have to watch and see. And there is some differences here, but if we look here, I just want to actually pull up their offensive line stats here, as I want to pull up their 2025 O-line stats. Let's see here. So, from an offensive line perspective, their offensive line was not the best last year. They weren't the worst, as I see here, Toronto gave up 56 sacks last year. Edmonton gave up 51. Because remember, Cody Fajardo can't have an O-line protecting him. Isn't that right, Rick? He has to, everywhere Cody Fajardo goes, he has to get whacked around in the backfield. But Ottawa gave up 47 sacks last year, which was nowhere near the best O-line last year, which was BC only giving up 20, but also was not as bad as Toronto giving up 56. So they were definitely on the not as great side of things, but we will have to see if this year they're able to make some improvement. But all in all, this is kind of, we're just going to have to wait and see in that regard. So Rick, actually, do you want to get us started on the receiver core for the Ottawa Redblacks this year?
Sure, give me 1 second. So we have Aiden Eberhardt from BC Lions, Justin Hardy and Eugene Lewis, both 1,000-yard receivers. Nick Martiner, who was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago, I believe, and is already on the injured list once again. Kate McDonald is a rookie out of Miami of Ohio. We have Pimpleton.
Did they
Sam
take Schnee as well, by the way? Actually, I was just about to ask about that.
And then also Keelan White, who was drafted first round last year.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about that group collectively, Rick? I want to know your thoughts.
Besides the top three receivers, this team does not.
Doesn't scare you?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those things where I'm in the middle about this receiver core. Actually, very much comparatively to Edmonton, where they have some really, really dangerous pieces that could do very well. I think a guy like Aiden Eberhardt can actually thrive under this environment, as I think there's some serious potential that Eberhardt might get the ball a little bit more than he did, just because with BC, it was kind of, McInnes and Keon Hatcher, they had really kind of eaten up a lot of the targets from Nathan Rourke. But I think there's maybe some potential for Eberhardt, even though last year he made a step up, to maybe even step up even more over in Ottawa on the offensive side of things. So I will be curious to see how this receiver group does for the Redblacks. So, Rick, shall we get to the defensive line?
Did we already do the offensive line?
Yeah, I just kind of briefly, I briefly covered the O-line and they're kind of what they had done, giving up sacks.
Defense line it is.
D-line, Baldonado with Ajeli, Tiala, and Carter will be their starting four in their first game of the season. And if we're taking our look at our source from Shane Rye, the only difference is that they had Wakefield in there. So is Wakefield hurt right now?
Wakefield is the nationalized American, so Tiala will play the first snap, and then Wakefield will be able to go in at 25% snaps for the Canadians.
Yeah, so he'll be able to cycle in there as well, but he's certainly going to be one of the more capable D linemen. So for this defensive line, I want to take a look firstly at what they had done last year, okay?
Yes.
The amount figures indicate what's allowed to their opponents. From a defensive line perspective, Ottawa was definitely on the weaker side last year. As the most sacks came from the BC Lions, 45. BC very good in the trenches last year. And then Winnipeg struggled with their D-line last year, only 23. Ottawa was tied for second last, as they only had 24. They had one more in Winnipeg. Tomato, it makes almost no difference at that point. Especially when you compare.
You said it, not me.
But no, yeah, exactly. It's me this time, Rick. But it doesn't make a huge. Yeah. Yeah, you remember me giving you shit for that. But it really doesn't make a huge difference between them, Edmonton and Winnipeg. They're all in the same boat because the big jump up from last year's stats from a defensive line is once you get to Hamilton, because you go from 24 in Ottawa up to 39 sacks in Hamilton. So big jump in that regard. That's kind of where that red line was, and Ottawa was on the wrong side of it. And so I think if you're Edmonton, or not Ottawa, Ottawa, I think if you're
like, are you
Edmonton
talking
too,
that
I think if
sacks? No, are you talking about sacks that Hamilton's D line gave up, or that they had?
That they had 39 sacks.
Gotcha,
Their
okay.
D line sacked the other team's quarterback 39 times.
Yeah,
Ottawa
okay.
did that 24. Edmonton did that 24. Winnipeg did that 23. I'm saying if you're going to say, where do I draw the line between bad performance and decent performance? That's the line. It's a 15 sack gap. And so that's something where if you're Ottawa, you want to get that pressure up. And if you're Dinwiddie, you want to inspire something in this team. We'll have to see if he has in our fiery press conference where he was. Remember when Dinwiddie had that press conference where he was kind of like, our offensive line weighed this much. I don't know what he did all off season. Do you remember this, Rick?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was. I do remember it, as it was one of those things where he kind of. We may actually, Rick, we made a fun video on it, so you should check it at some point. But anyways, I think the D-line, you're looking for some more production out of them if you're Ottawa. Which brings us over to the linebackers. Rick, if there's any area this team defensively can be a powerhouse, it's got to be in that linebacker group.
Correct.
Let's start with you. I've been talking a bit. What?
So linebackers, let me go here. So we have a good friend of the channel and a
Great
chess genius.
He is a chess genius. That's right.
AJ Allen. Brian Cole II, who's played for both Hamilton and Winnipeg, who's going to be a special team specialist for them. Lucas Cormier was there last year. Niles Morgan came over in a trade.
Yep.
With the Elks.
And we covered that. Make sure you check the video out.
And to be honest, I've never even heard of Pedway. But I mean, other than and one person that's a DB, but technically a linebacker, CJ Reeves, but he's listed in the DB position, but he's a linebacker.
That's
play.
They'll play strong side, because strong side it's still a linebacker spot technically, but you have some linebacker spots that are more designed to deal with because at middle linebacker you're going to be dealing with the rushing game the most. At weak side, you'll be getting the rushing game as well as the passing game. You do get some passing game at middle, but not nearly as much, because if you're running a blitz, a lot of times you'll run middle blitz. At least I remember running middle blitz when I played middle linebacker in high school and whatnot. Strong side linebacker is your linebacker that's going to drop into coverage a decent amount of the time. As usually that's where they'll stack up their receivers. That's where you might see a tight end. And so, yeah. But all in all, I think we're dealing with one of the best starting three groups of linebackers in the CFL. I think Ottawa has improved and earned that title, provided AJ Allen, CJ Reeves, and Niles Morgan are able to do what they do best. Which brings us to the secondary, which in my opinion is a very mixed bag. as I don't mind the addition of a day. I think Demario Houston over at corner, if he's able to play to his full potential, can be fantastic. I remember just what he was able to do over in Winnipeg. It was very similar to actually what Terrell Ford would do the following year in Winnipeg. And now Evan Holm has kind of shifted into that spot for the Bombers. But for the Red Blacks, we'll have to see if Demario Houston is able to keep that up. At halfback, you got Fry and Williams, with Brown over at the other corner side and a day up at safety. Rick, thoughts on the secondary?
I mean, other than maybe Demario Houston, not really. You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember when Edmonton first went through their building a few years ago, when like a few free agents, I think it was last year, the year before that, where they did that little big splash of free agency, where they just like signed like a bunch of people to like big contracts.
Yes.
That's basically all is the first year of Edmonton's free agency. And that's how I look at them. Yeah. I kid you not. They went 4-14 last year. I have them going 5-13 this year. I give them one more win than last year.
Wow. It's funny. You know what my thing is? I'm so indecisive on Ottawa, because in years past I've been like, man, this looks like it's the year for Ottawa, just for them to not have it be their year. So for me, if I'm ranking this team, although actually let's talk about special teams before we do that. Brett Lothar comes in at kicker, out with Lewis Ward, in with Brett Lothar. Brett Lothar had his problems at times in Saskatchewan. If you ask Rider fans, they will let you know regarding that. But he did get the kicks when it counted for them. And at the end of the day, they still won the Grey Cup with him. He gets his ring. Along with all the other riders in this team that are going to be getting their rings. So at kicker, like, actually, you know what I'm going to do, Rick? I am going to pull up the kicking stats of Brett Lothar last year, because I remember when Noah put them all in the CFL stats part. If you go to, actually, again, on our Discord, it's all there in the CFL stats section. You might have to scroll up a little bit. But Brett Lothar last year was ranked dead last for field goal percentage in the CFL for a starting kicker. Just to be clear, as he went 72%, which was behind Lewis Ward, who last year went 76%. So Brett Lothar had 39 field goals made on 54 attempts. His longest was 59 yards. When it was a kick under 20 yards, Brett Lothar hit all 6 of them, didn't miss any. From 20 to 39 yards, he went 18 for 22. I'm not gonna lie, that's not great. You know, if I were them, I wouldn't like missing that. 40 to 49 goes 13 for 19. He misses, almost 30% of his kicks there. If we go to 50 plus, he went 2 for 7. Just completely struggled in anything over 50 yards. And for PATs, he went 31 for 34. So there were 3 conversions that he had missed. That they're going to be bringing him over into Ottawa. And so I'm curious to see if there's any notable improvement, or if a guy like Lewis Ward, they should have stuck around with. Pimpleton goes in at returner. He's a very capable returner. Caused problems for Winnipeg last year in a game. Gave us the real scare.
Business.
The real business. Yes, that's right. But I think that's pretty much all I have before we rank this team. So I'm going to give my ceiling and floor similar to how I have previously. My ceiling for this Red Blacks team is second in the East, and my floor is dead last in the East, because me, it's second best case scenario, worst case scenario. Toronto kicks it up, and Ottawa drops down.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you say that best case scenario, that they're second, who do you have in first then? in that scenario.
Either Hamilton or Montreal, depending on whoever. Unless if one of them shits the bed, then one of them potentially drops to third. And when I say best case scenario, I'm not saying likely. I'm not saying that I think that is a likely.
No,
scenario.
I know. I'm just
saying
curious.
if everything goes right for Ottawa, I think they can get second, but I think it's difficult. If everything goes wrong, though, I see no reason why this team can't come last in the East. If Toronto, with Chad Kelly coming back, is able to kind of reinvigorate and get back to where they once were at the top of the mountain. Where do you lean with this, Rick?
So my honest opinion, I see them third.
I think that's the most likely spot. I will say
best case scenario, fourth.
I think you mean worst case scenario is fourth.
Well, yeah, but my realistic thinking is they're fourth.
Do you think they're going to be fourth?
Because you have with what you have with Toronto. So ultimately, I was on another podcast the other day, and they asked me what my East was going to be, and I said potentially you have Hamilton first with the same record that they have if everything goes according to plan. I'm not saying that it will. I'm just saying if everything goes according to plan and they reach their potential, I could see them going 11-7.
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, I could see Toronto going 10-8.
Wow.
Because if Toronto, Chad Kelly, can play up to his potential, they could do really well.
I agree with that, but for me, I don't know if like Chad Kelly alone, I don't know if it moves the needle over where I saw Arbuckle last year. Like, I think to me, I think I need to see more change in the rest of the personnel department for them.
So here's my other thing is, after Thursday's game, you lost 3 players due to injury. One of them was one of your top 3 receivers.
And you're talking about which team, sorry, again? Just to be clear.
Montreal.
Okay.
They lost their center, and they lost a player on defense. Those are 3 key pieces.
Yep.
Also,
I'll give you
I'm not sure if you saw it, but there was a point in Thursday's game where Davis Alexander was seeing Hovland off to the sidelines.
Yeah.
So he may not be 100%.
This is true.
And if you can get to him and get sacks and keep on throwing him to the ground, who's to say? Because I can tell you right now, if Alexander goes down, I still don't trust Crum with this offense.
I think Crum can produce some. We'll have to see. We're going to do our full talks about Montreal.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, trust him in a sense, like, would they make the playoffs? Yes. Would they go far in the playoffs? No, if Davis went down. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, my honest opinion, I see Ottawa finishing
Rick,
fourth.
I'm not going to lie. It's funny. I don't disagree with anything that you've necessarily said there, but this idea, the only thing I will say, and this is just the Bomber fan in me, when you mention, oh yeah, because their backup would be playing, they're probably not going to get far. I'm thinking we lost the Grey Cup to Arbuckle, like, on the Bomber side. No, but what we lost to a backup.
Crum can run, but Crum ain't gonna throw.
He's not going to throw the passes that Davis Alexander can.
He has Everhart, Lewis, and Hardy.
No, that's Ottawa. You're talking. We were talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry,
Dustin Crum's not in Ottawa anymore.
Okay. He has Sneed, and Philpott. That's it, because Speaker's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, but we'll get into Montreal after this.
No, I'm just saying. I was just explaining people why I thought Ottawa's going to finish fourth in the East.
Yeah, that's fair. You make a good argument. That's for sure, and that's where we will. To be honest, at the end of the day, the CFL is one of the hardest leagues to predict. We will just have to see. But
Let's just say just before I go to Montreal, after the last 2 nights,
Yeah. Just
it
for
even goes to
context,
show how hard it is to predict wins.
just for context for everybody watching, we have recorded most of this video before the week 1 games. The Ottawa and Montreal portions of this video have been recorded after the first 2 games of week 1 before the 3rd game has happened. I just want to clear that up just because this recording is being a bit choppy at times. But, Rick, shall we get to the last team that we are going to be covering today?
Yes.
All right. And I know we're like hours into this video. Originally, I'm like, oh, it's going to be 2 hours. And I was like, fucking way past that. The Montreal Alouettes. The Montreal Alouettes, as of the time of the recording, they had their first win. They got in their first game of the year. They defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats over in Hamilton Stadium.
In overtime.
In overtime. As we had to go to overtime in game 1 because we couldn't possibly have a blowout.
It wouldn't be any other type of game if it didn't go to the last second of the game.
This is the CFL. Every game is decided in the last 3 minutes or past that. And so, starting with the quarterbacks, Davis Alexander. How many games is it? 14 regular season straight wins? Is that what it is? I can't remember.
He was 11-0 yesterday. So he was 7-0 last year. 4-0 the year before.
Well, I think TSN posted it. Hold on a second. Let me take a look.
But the thing is, depends on who you talk to. If you talk to Davis Alexander, he's already lost his first game.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that was the Grey Cup. And if you talk to everyone else, they're going to say he's undefeated because he hasn't lost a regular season game yet. So I'm going to go
So
with
he's at
Davis
12
Alexander,
regular season win streak. Regular season only, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Now, with that, he has Dustin Crum behind him, which I will say, Rick, it's better than when they had. However, when was it that they had? Who did they have last year behind him? Was it?
They had the carousel of McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Yes, they had
Caleb Evans,
Yeah.
Cameron Duke, James Morgan.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I thought they had Bethel Thompson
year.
there. And with Bethel Thompson was just way past his prime. It was just...
Yeah, he did play last year, but then I think he got injured.
Yeah,
too.
well, I was trying to remember because I remember Bethel Thompson was also over at Edmonton, and I'm like, I think he went to Ottawa before he retired. And it's like, yeah, he went over to Ottawa, or not Ottawa, Montreal before he retired. But
technically, he hasn't retired yet.
True, but I can't imagine a CFL team signing him. I'll put it that way, with where we're at. But who knows?
You want a vet?
This is the
In order to
CFL.
find him.
Hey, you want? I'll throw money on it. Anyways, though, with that at backup, they have Dustin Crum, which I will say I think is an improvement over Bethel Thompson, because Bethel Thompson could sometimes pass the ball in, like, we're talking 2025, 2026, you know, in these years. I think Dustin Crum, from a passing perspective, is maybe not much of an improvement, maybe more of a lateral move. However, where this can help Montreal and where this might be a good fit is that he's a good running quarterback. And so I think in short yardage, he can do really, really well if they decide to play him there. I think it would be smart to put him there. And the other thing is that if hypothetically Alexander goes down, I do think you will not have as strong of a connection with guys like Sneed, Speaker, Philpott, Hollins. Now, reminder, Speaker is going to be out for an extended period of time. Is that right, Rick?
I don't know, but all I can say is the way his leg landed last night, that's not normal.
Yeah, so it does look bad for Speaker, but we'll have to see. And then they also have Stern. So I don't think you'll see the same connection with those receivers. Where you have some serious potential is potentially running it, where he could potentially run it through the center with the pressure of his offensive line. It does look like Justin Lawrence, is out for a bit, and so you may see either Dox Tater or St. Don go in to fill that spot. But I have a lot of confidence in the rushing protection, the rush blocking of the offensive line for the Montreal Alouettes based on what I saw last year. with them having to make a change at center due to injury, we will have to see how productive that is at a given time. And we'll also just have to see how long is Justin Lawrence going to be out, because he is a key piece of the Alouettes' offensive line.
So one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
So Stevie Scott III did not play Thursday because he's injured. Travis Tice was starting. He left the game injured. So now, as of right now, they only have one running back, Shamari Lawrence.
Yeah.
Who's a rookie.
Yeah. And so that's where
there.
We will have to see. Now, thankfully, I do think that their offensive line will be able to carry a little bit of the weight in that regard for their rushing game, but having Travis Tice out certainly hurts. From a receiver perspective, again, if we're assuming all healthy, I would say this is a very good receiver group. But again, we will have to see the status of Speaker moving forward. As Tyler Snead was just absolutely lethal against the Ticats in this last week. As he was a problem for Hamilton. And I imagine it won't just be Hamilton. It will be other teams as well as they move forward.
You have to remember, that's also against two rookie secondary players, too.
This is true. So we
Could
will
be
have
a difference
to see,
if he was playing a CFL vet.
And that will be... Well, and you know what? When you have a game like he did this past week, and you go against Toronto the next week, when Toronto is watching film, there might be like, okay, we got to keep a bigger eye on this guy then. Because to be fair to Hamilton here, in week 1, there's not much film you can go off of. There's almost none that you can use in your game. That's why defenses
especially when you're
defenses in week 1 usually tend to struggle. And the reason is always that they film matters. Film matters a lot for a defense in football. And so that's where week 1 is always the trickiest because no offensive coordinator is going to show much of shit in the preseason. And number 2, a lot of the starters won't even be playing in that preseason. So even if they were showing something, it's going to be with different personnel that's far better than the squad you probably saw them putting forward in the preseason. And so that's where I will be curious to see how the Toronto Argonauts do against Montreal in week 2, because I think that will be a better test for the Alouettes in regards of what a defense does to their offense with some film, with something backing it, as opposed to just kind of blindly praying it all goes well. Now, with that, Rick, where shall we go next?
Let's go defensive line.
Archibald, Hawthorne, Johnson, and Berglund were their starters in their first game of the year. And all in all, what was your thoughts on them? Kind of because you were at the game, you saw a little bit more of this. So,
to be honest, I didn't see much pressure on from them because you got to remember, okay, look at how well, because we lost Bordner, Woodmansey, and Murray to Edmonton. Yeah. I don't even I'm not going to say he wasn't sacked much last year, but the Ticats protection was good last year. So I didn't see much of a time where Bo had to run for his life. So like you said, there's not much film that a team can use for game 1. And you got to remember, so Toronto is at an advantage for week 2 because they have film on Montreal's defense.
No, that definitely makes sense. But I think we should probably, we've been talking about the D-line a little bit. Why don't we kind of switch gears and go back to those linebackers for the Alouettes? As over on the left side, they have Tyrese Beverette with Canton Arku at the middle spot with Murray. Over on the strong side with Micah Alway as their backup in the center. Definitely some damn good linebacker depth over here in Montreal. Thoughts on the linebackers for the start, Rick?
Honestly, with the way that Montreal's defense is looking, unless something happens to Kent-Narku, the only thing that I can see Ottawa playing if he's not starting is special teams.
Yeah. Well, and I think that will be one of those things where I do think the second you see anyone go down, that always going to get in there. It still is a little bit surprising to me because Alway has just had such a fantastic career in the CFL that he is in kind of a backup spot, but I understand why. But it'll be interesting as well, even because if we look at the 4 days ago, the TSN put out their top 10 CFL players going into this season. This was before any of the games were played. They had 2 Alouettes in that group. They had Tyrese Beverette at 6 with Davis Alexander at 9. And so a lot of faith in the Alouettes over at TSN. And then, of course, the old Dutch Pick'em crew almost always takes Montreal in most instances, unless it's a complete mismatch. But I can't imagine them saying that. But I think this is a group that can really, really, really be deadly. Why did I say really 3 times? They can be very effective in on both sides of the ball, whether that's against that the rushing game or against the passing game. I think time will only tell to see how healthy they can keep them. As if we're taking a look here, just want to pull up the stats for Tyrese Beverette because he is your main talking point for that starting group. Tyrese Beverette, a American linebacker born in Lakewood, New Jersey. Last year had a very, very good year. 83 defensive tackles, 7 special teams tackled, 18 games played, got 7 sacks last year with 4 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles. So he was a force to be reckoned with, and will continue to do so, I got to imagine. But the one thing that, again, is a little bit interesting to me is where Micah Alway does end up. So Micah Alway wasn't as effective in the backfield, 0 sacks, but he did get 2 picks, a forced fumble. But his main thing here, 114 defensive tackles, 3 special teams tackles. So I almost wonder if he ever does go in, if they throw him at weak side linebacker and just have him really in that role of just cleaning up whatever is coming through that line. But we will have to wait and see. Which brings us over to the secondary. Rick, thoughts on the Alouette secondary?
Let's see if I can. Because I'm doing it. Oh, here we go. Okay. So Nate Boschman is stepping in for, what the heck was his name? The one that just retired. That's going to play for Canada's flag football team.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Marc-Antoine Dequoy?
Yes. So he's filling in for him. Bubba Bolden, don't really know much about him. Lorenzo Burns, I think we did an interview with him.
Yes, we did.
On the
channel. If you haven't
seen
it, make sure you guys check it out. Lorenzo Burns player interview over on Canadian Football Central.
And then Ento was on the team last year. Arthur Hamlin, Robert Kennedy, Najee Murray. Jonathan Sutherland was drafted in the first round 3 years ago, but went to the NFL. And then you have Wesley Sutton.
Yeah. But overall, I think this is an okay secondary. If we take a look into here, I want to take a look at their team stats from last year regarding their passing defense. Let's see. It's the team allowed to their opponents. The amount of yards that they gave up per game. The Alouettes actually did the strongest in this regard, as they gave up 238.8 yards per game of passing yards that they had given up. So they had done pretty darn well for their secondary at really keeping that locked down. Funny enough, Saskatchewan was at 266. They were one of the lowest. They gave up a good amount here. So, yeah. But honestly, they had done really, really well. But then, and then even if you look at their amount of yards they'd given up total, 4,625 yards over the course of an entire season, as opposed to Edmonton, who gave up 5,336 yards. These numbers are, by the way, the 2025 CFL defensive rankings for passing over on the football database. So you can, Google the football database and get those numbers yourself. But if we swing over to the special team side of things, they got Maltos Diaz as their kicker, with Barasa as their long snapper. Brooks is going to be their returner with Zema as their punter. Thoughts on the special teams?
Maltos was decent last year, if I can remember.
Yep.
Zima wasn't, I'm not saying Zima was a bad punter. He was okay. Brooks is the new returner because Letcher Jr. Is off in Saskatchewan, so it'll be interesting to see how well he can do this year.
Yeah. Well, and then as we were kind of mentioning with Maltos Diaz, if we're looking at those kicking rankings that I was looking at last year. By the way, if you're trying to find those in the Discord, go to CFL stats. And then if you scroll up, you'll see a photo that was posted that says kickers ranked by FG percentage. That was posted on, I believe that was November 12th, 2025. It was posted. So if you're looking for it, that's how far you're going to scroll up to look. But Jose Maltos Diaz was pretty much right in the middle, with a just slightly higher percentage than Sergio Castillo. He was Maltos Diaz was fourth in the league, tied with Haralahu actually for field goal percentage, with 89%. If we look at Maltos Diaz, his longest field goal is a 58-yarder. He was 9 for 9 under 20 yards. Didn't miss any of them. From 20 to 39 yards, he went 29 for 33. From 40 to 49 yards, he went 13 for 15. For 50 plus, he went 7 for 8. So did very, very good in that regard. Missed only one PAT, and had gotten 2 rouges last year. Again, changes to the rouge we'll have to see, because now you're only going to be getting those most likely on your kickoffs. Or if you kick wide, stays in bounds, and it's returned but doesn't make it out of the end zone. But all in all, Maltos Diaz was a very consistent kicker, and just kind of right in the middle of the pack, but slightly on the better side of things for CFL standards. So definitely no need for a change there. Which then means that, Rick, we got to give a guess of where this team is going to end up when it's all said and done. I personally have this Montreal team. Best case scenario, they could get first, but I think they also could get third. I think second is their most likely outcome in the East.
I would say, if I had to guess, second, if Toronto craps the bed. Third, if Toronto turns things around.
I see. Most likely outcome, though?
I'm saying most likely outcome, I'm going to say second.
Second? No, that's fair. So, we have gone through each of the teams, and however long this video is, once I split it all together, I'll know. I'm assuming it's like almost 3 to 4 hours. I know it's over 3 hours. It might be 4 hours at this point. Rick, overall predictions for the CFL West standings, and then we'll do East.
So my predictions for the West standings, I'm going to say BC. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me go to my paper because I actually wrote this down. Where did I have it written down?
It's funny. I actually wish I wrote it down because, again, we recorded some of the other stuff the other day, and so I can't remember all I said.
I can tell you exactly what you said.
Oh, please do, actually. That'd be great.
So,
that'd be awesome.
BC, you said best first, worst fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Saskatchewan, you said first, best, third, worst. Calgary, you said third best, fifth worst. Edmonton, you said third best, fifth worst, and you never gave a prediction for Winnipeg.
Or I did, and you didn't.
I think
write
you
it
said
down.
third, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I said like their best was they could come second, and their worst they could come fourth. I think that's what I said. I think third is most likely. So my predictions for the West is going to be Saskatchewan, followed by BC, followed by Winnipeg, followed by Calgary, followed by Edmonton. That is my West predictions.
So, funny fact is, we have the same bottom two, same bottom three, but different bottom two.
So you go BC, then Saskatchewan.
Yes.
That's fair. I could see that. Over to the East. So
you said, you said Hamilton 1-2, Toronto 2-4. And then today's video.
Which I think I said 2-4 as well for Ottawa. And then for Montreal, I think I said 1-3. So I'm going to say that Hamilton comes first, followed by the Alouettes, followed by the Redblacks. Although I could see the Redblacks potentially sneaking up if they do really, really well. And I'm going to have Toronto at 4.
It's funny because depending on who you talk to,
Toronto could completely screw this whole bracket up if they really get on a heater. I'm going to be honest. Like, my East could get blown up by Toronto having a great season.
So it's funny because we did our predictions first. So I'd said Hamilton was 1-2 and Toronto was 3-4. I went on a podcast a show the other day, and I said Toronto's number 2, but I have Toronto 3-4 here.
And you know what we've learned, Rick? You know what we've learned? The CFL is a hard freaking league to predict, and our opinions change constantly. I remember the start of the last year, I said that I thought Toronto had a chance of winning the East. Was I wrong? You bet your ass I was wrong. I was way off. You know? But it just shows how difficult this league is to predict. It is impossible to predict. The old Dutch Pick'ems crew are having a fucking rough week right now with their predictions.
If you were to tell me last year that Kenny Lawler would have 14 touchdowns, that we would sweep Montreal, sweep Ottawa, and then take 2 out of 3 against Toronto, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah. But all in all, I think that's all we got. Is that right, Rick?
That is right, my friend.
I'm going to find out how long this was. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave a like, share it around, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you haven't, make sure you guys join our Discord. Link in the description below where all our CFL stuff is. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you actually tune in this whole time, you are like awesome. I can't freaking believe you. You're crazy.
Also, Carter's going to be nice. Carter's going to be nice and put timestamps in.
Yes.
Down below. So you don't have to watch all 4 hours.
We're going to have chapters, so you'll be able to figure it out that way.
Well, timestamp chapters, same shit.
Yes. True. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Touchdown.